Huh. Hey, welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula is here.
Jesus Christ.
I know, right?
Can you please take off those glasses? Guys, those glasses don't have any glass on them. They don't have any plastic on them. He's literally wearing them to be obnoxious, and it's annoying.
No, I got certain friends wearing glasses, so in honor of them, I wear their glasses. The M's, Mona and Malcolm X.
Fam,
wear my glasses.
You do not need to wear glasses without glass in them.
Johnny, you like my glasses? Okay, they're coming off. There you go. Johnny just said no. Is your microphone on? At least I hope you want to hear the whole world. I got scolded. Can you please? And Johnny Sue is spinning on those 1s and 2s, ladies and gentlemen. We just finished the introduction. How's that feel? Fam,
not everything has to be rehearsed and done and, like extra. It's noon. Why the hell is Slow News Day on right now when I wanted to see that? Real Nazi collaborators. What real Nazi collaborators? Because some of us have been called Nazi collaborators.
Collaboration of Nazis.
The people, the liberals that you support, in charge of the Great Reset, are actually the Nazi collaborators. So I encourage people to watch that. I'm going to watch it later, obviously.
All right. I sent the show to my mom. Why? Because we're going to go right into this today. We're going to talk about Mario Cuomo, and my mom cannot stand Mario Cuomo. Isn't that Chris Cuomo, or which Cuomo is it? I get them all mixed up. Mario's dad, right? This is Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo.
My mother liked Mario. She can't stand Andrew and Chris. I don't like Andrew and Chris. I love Mario. I love Mario. Mario Cuomo was a
You love him so much you forget who he is.
Well, his children are just little pieces of shit. They really are and stuff like that.
I don't like any of them. How about that?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't gone over to the Rokfin, ROKFIM on your FM dial, go over there, sign up for free.
Nice.
And if you have $9.99 a month, endorse the Convo Couch. We really do appreciate it. We love it. We put that money to use by going to the places where the mainstream media just won't go.
Guys, I almost feel bad that you had to listen to that. I'm really sorry.
But it is kind of true, right? We do stories that the mainstream media won't cover.
We do, but
I mean, is people covering the stuff we're
not
covering?
Say that shit like that?
Did the mainstream media get in there like Johnny, get right up to a Fed with his camera?
No.
And the tear gas while getting hit with rubber bullets? No.
They're scared.
Do they cover the stuff in Arizona, fam? So even though my over the top was too much over the top, it was still kind of like on topic, on subject, saying to you people out there, a lot of you have signed up and been subscribers on the Rokfin. It is so awesome that you did it. We have 167 subscribers. We actually had one more coming this morning. We need 33 more by the end of the month. So it's going to require 3 a day. So if you can afford it, please do it. If you can't, just sign up for free and get over there to Rokfin, because YouTube still has the tape over our mouth, fam. They're still censoring us.
Yep.
You have anything to say about censorship?
Nope, it's bad. We're going to talk about it this whole show. So,
does Johnny have anything to say about censorship? Guys, you won't even say the tagline. Let's get into it. Let's talk about fam's favorite governor, America's governor. That's what Joe Biden once said, right? America's governor. Let's talk about Andrew Cuomo, because we have a scandal going on, and now it is breaking down. How Cuomo's COVID-19 nursing home scandal unraveled over the past year, the timeline and analysis. Because right now, fam, this is making news. Our friend Justin Jackson, who came on the show last week with an amazing show. If you haven't checked it out, please go see the clip on Rokfin. It's awesome. We did talk about his first show. He talked about what was going on in New York, fam. Mm-hmm. And there's been a huge scandal going on, and we're going to kind of break down the timeline. Pretty much the macro is that Cuomo said people can, old elderly people from hospitals that were sent to hospitals because they have COVID-19 could return, should return, will return to nursing homes, fams. And what would that do? I mean, can you see a problem there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's go over the timeline, because we know it's deadly right now. And it's so weird because the Democrats use this whole kind of crisis. I don't want to say kind of crisis, but they really did politicize it. Right. They constantly, talked about how Donald Trump was being awful at managing this whole thing. They praised Cuomo, the mainstream media. They praised Gavin Newsom. They
nominated him.
Oh, yeah.
For a Nobel Prize, didn't they?
Something. I don't know. He won an Emmy or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, he won an Emmy. He won an Emmy for sure. Yeah.
He did. He wrote a book on how to handle the COVID crisis. And now the wall has come crumbling down, because a lot of times I think these establishment people, whether it be Democrats or Republicans, they do something thinking that it just, once we go by, it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. But then shit can come back to haunt them, especially with the tools and everything we have right now, Wayback Machines and everything. We catch people in full-blown scandals. So right on March 22nd, the statewide shutdown of non-essential businesses. Okay, so that's when shit started hitting the fan. Remember, fam? We were here like, what's going on? The coronavirus has arrived. things started changing. We knew the world would change, life would change. New York has been just devastated, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy when you look at New York, the way they handle it different than Florida. They almost had the same results as far as deaths and whatnot. But one, people aren't suffering financially as much because it's been open. But New York, ghost town, we don't know how it's going to open up. That's on the 22nd when the essential business was shut down. March 25th, the State Department of Health orders nursing homes to admit recovering COVID-19 patients from hospitals. So nursing homes are admitting possibly not fully recovered elderly patients from hospitals into those nursing homes, fam. Any initial thought about that when the order coming or no?
No, just continue.
March 29th, as in New York and other states begin using nursing homes to admit medically stable residents infected with the coronavirus, national trade groups start warning it could necessarily cost more lives. They said, hey, this might be a bad idea. April 3rd, legal immunity provisions for healthcare providers, including nursing homes and hospitals relating to COVID-19, are approved in the state budget. So pretty much, they gave immunity to people in that state budget who just listen to us, do what we say, get those people in there. We got your back. We'll protect you. It's not going to come down on you. We'll take the heat. Well, here it comes. April 13th. State officials released data showing the coronavirus has killed more than 2,400 elderly and disabled New Yorkers inside nursing homes and assisted living facilities. The nursing home death toll by the county was released in response to questions from the USA Today Network New York reporter. I guarantee you it was a lot more than just the USA Today. There were a lot of people, a lot of independent people, a lot of activists sticking their nose in, wanting to know what's going on. Now, we're gonna fast forward to August 3rd. State lawmakers slammed State Health Commissioner Dr. Howard Zucker over potentially downplaying the number of COVID-19 deaths in nursing homes to defend state policies. So, fam, here's when the shit starts hitting the fan. They're downplaying stuff. The numbers are coming in. Some people are saying, wait a second, these numbers, are they real? Are they fugazi? During a long-awaited hearing, legislators repeatedly questioned why state health officials, only released data that show about 6,500 virus-related deaths occurred inside New York nursing homes, omitting statistics on residents who died after being transferred to hospitals or hospice care. On January 28th, Attorney General Letitia James issues a report that reveals state officials have been underreporting nursing home residents' COVID deaths by about 50% by excluding hospital deaths as poor infection control practices and understaffing fueled the coronavirus crisis inside the long-term care facilities. Within hours, Zucker released a preliminary data showing at least 3,829 nursing home residents died of COVID-19 after being transferred to a hospital or hospice. February 10th, Cuomo's top aide, Melissa DeRosa, acknowledged pausing the release of nursing home COVID data because the governor's administration feared it could be used against us after the Department of Justice sent its request for information. DeRosa's comment came in a private meeting with state lawmakers and reported by the New York Post. Cuomo's office later released a transcript. Fam, so there it is. Pretty much, Cuomo and the state ordered that elderly patients that were recovering from coronavirus in hospital go back into their nursing homes. Ordered it. Then gave immunities to the providers, the hospice, the hospital, said, don't worry, we got your back. We're going to give you immunity. They underreported deaths. People started sniffing their nose around. And let's talk about this. There's a lot of work from a lot of assemblyman people out there, Democrat, Republican, that said, no, something's going on here. Something is wrong. And now it's coming to fruition. The cover-up, everything, fam. Your thoughts on what had just happened and your thoughts on America's governor.
I mean, impeach Cuomo, right? Like,
there's no recall measure in New York.
I know. It's just funny how while they were pursuing impeachment of Trump for the stupidest thing, they let this whole thing go. And now that Joe Biden's president, COVID doesn't exist. They don't really, talk very much about it. And if they do, they're saying, oh, poor Joe, he's had to, inherit this whole huge issue and blah, blah, blah. Like, the only people that are really talking about the COVID deaths and how Biden is failing are the working people, but the media isn't talking about it. And there you have another Democrat that won an Emmy for being amazing and how he handled COVID, actually mishandled the whole fucking thing in a very, very nefarious, sneaky way, where he lied to his people. And he not only did he do this, simultaneously he was gutting the healthcare program in New York. He was gutting funding for healthcare, and so this is all part of it. How could somebody like that receive such accolades? To me, it's just gross.
And I remember we did a show on that too as well,
Yeah.
when Donald Trump and the federal government were sending over certain money, said you have to use it for medical expenses or healthcare, whatnot. And he's like, I'm not going to use the money for what you tell me. And everybody was like praising him. Oh, he's standing up to Trump and telling him what's
Right.
what. We have this scandal. I think a lot of people ask, well, why did he do it? Why did he make these people go back in there? Well, there is a financial reason, because now his buddies who, fund him, a lot of people in Big Pharma and a lot of these nursing homes, the owners, I mean, they're not small businesses, fam. You know what I'm saying? These are big businesses, but they get extra money from the state budgets for when somebody dies in their bed from corona. That's why a lot of, hospitals would list coronavirus, whether it be something else. They would get the extra state money for caring for that patient during COVID. And that is why a lot of people think his motive of doing this, of pushing people in, is why he did it, because there's a financial reason tied to it.
The reason also I think mainstream media says is that because of the overflow of the hospitals, right?
Well, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
They're saying what choice did he have? I mean, well, let Johnny. That's kind of quite cool, because I was going to ask you, what should he have done? I mean, like, what should have?
But if he was going to do that, he shouldn't manipulate the information to make it look like he didn't do that. Be transparent about it.
Yeah.
What he could have done is made some hotels hospitals. He could have extended the triage locations. He could have done that. There's plenty of empty luxury buildings in New York, and that's a whole other infrastructure problem that we have here in LA. There's a lot of homeless people and a lot of empty buildings.
Yeah.
And you could have used that for this catastrophe, and you didn't.
Great minds think alike, fan, because I was going to say that same thing. Because I heard somebody out here always talk about the homeless people, like, what's the solution? Well, people's like, we have these abandoned old malls, huge, giant malls that have plumbing, electricity, a lot of space, whatnot. Yeah. Let's go in and tap into these malls now and let the homeless people stay there, right? So I was thinking the same thing. Like, you got these old hotels, get in there real quick, retrofit them to be ready for people for COVID-19 and try to take care of them best they can. Now, I understand it's not going to be the same amenities as a hospital, whatnot, but you're pushing people back in to a nursing home. Now you just increased the death. I mean, you just whacked a bunch of people. He did it mafioso style, the capo style. He sent these people in there, and that shit spread and killed more people. This is disgusting. And like you said, be honest about it. Hey, we have a situation here. What are we going to do to handle this? Let's handle this. Let's bring ideas to the table, and let's see what's going on. But they were too busy playing politics, going, oh, look what Donald Trump is doing, running that number up, putting it on him, putting the number right on CNN and MSN, the little clock ticker. Everybody politicized this stuff instead of coming up with real answers. Now, I just want to say something, that this stuff was going on. Well, people are going to say, well, he didn't know. No, this stuff was going on back in April of last year. I have Assemblyman Ron Kim over here. Or is it Tenney? Did I skip one? Tenney. Okay, this is Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She reiterates the call for Capo Cuomo to step down, to resign, and urges a DOJ investigation on the nursing home deaths. And pretty much, I think it's in the I'm going to read it again. My bad. Right now, all I'm trying to point out, because I don't want to go too deeply into what she's been saying, but I want to call about the timeline. And she says right here, Congresswoman Tenney first called for a federal investigation into the serious matter in April 2020. She reiterated this call again in May 2020 after a troubling report by the AP revealed nursing home deaths were being underreported in New York. Now, the reason why we point this out, now you have Mr. Kim. Let's go to Mr. Kim. So that's a Republican, God bless you, on the Assembly. What about a Democrat? We have Mr. Kim. Look what he's saying right now when he first started jumping on the scene. Something's going on here.
Hey everyone, this is Assemblyman Ron Kim. I'm here at the Sapphire Nursing Home because one of my constituents and her daughter has reached out to me because she's been stuck in this nursing home without any ability to communicate with her. She's actually, the daughter's here standing with me, next to me, and she still can't get in and figure out what's going on with her mother. After we've discovered that there's between 30 to 60 people who might have passed away due to the coronavirus at this nursing home, we still don't have any answers from the state or the nursing director. So we're trying to get to the bottom. There are many families like my constituents here who deserve answers. They deserve to know that their families are being kept safe and they're practicing social distance, they're being tested. These are lives that every second count for these people inside of this nursing home. So we're here demanding answers, and we're not going to stop.
So once again, she heard her family member was in there. They heard that they were admitting COVID patients back into nursing homes. She wanted to go in contact with your mother. Can you imagine if they won't even let you in there to go see them or speak to them? You don't even know what's going on. There's no direct phone in the room in a nursing home. Can you imagine how you would feel, right? If your mom was pushed into a nursing home and now you're hearing this report that there's COVID-19 patients being pushed back in there. It's like you're putting a match into a stack of matches with gasoline on it, and you're just igniting that stuff, and that's what happened. It was just really, really bad. And
that was back in April 16th.
April. And where was the federal attention on this? Where was the media, right? And we had a little bit of what would we call him, a friend or a whistleblower or something. We're not going to reveal his name, but he sent us a message. He says, I'm a geriatric social worker and I have unique information. I was present the morning the report when our administrator read Cuomo's order that the nursing homes would have to take COVID residents back. And then the next one, I remember, it was mid-March the 15th. Reported story states that it was the 25th. It was a disaster and everyone knew it. And pretty much he didn't want us to use his name, because people are scared about this whole situation. And you're going to see a lot more like this, fam, of people coming forward, people talking. Like he said, he was like, wait a second. They knew this was a disaster. They could see this happening. And the chickens is coming home to roost now, fam, because now they got Cuomo.
And Biden's press secretary actually was running interference for how Biden has handled COVID, and Cuomo as well.
I want to turn to another controversy that raged this week. Andrew Cuomo under fire for allegedly not being transparent and misleading on the number of nursing home deaths in New York. Last spring, President Biden cited Andrew Cuomo as the gold standard for leadership during the pandemic. Take a listen.
Your governor of New York's done one hell of a job. I think he's sort of the gold standard.
So now we've seen that Governor Cuomo has allegedly undercounted nursing home deaths, misled legislators in New York, and he called a New York Assemblyman Ron Kim, raising questions, basically threatening to destroy him, I think was his actual words. So does President Biden still consider Andrew Cuomo the gold standard when it comes to leadership on the pandemic?
Well, John, we work with Governor Cuomo just like we work with governors across the country. He's also chair of the NGA, so he plays an important role in ensuring that we're coordinating closely and getting assistance out to people of his state and to states across the country. And we'll continue to do that. And there, of course, will be a process. The investigations will leave that to others to determine, the appropriate law enforcement authorities to determine how that path is going to move as we look forward. But we are going to continue to work with a range of governors, including, of course, Governor Cuomo, because we think the people of New York, the people of states across the country need assistance, not just to get through the pandemic, but to get through this difficult economic time. And that's where our focus remains.
All right, but Jen, my question was, does President Biden still believe that Andrew Cuomo is the gold standard, represents the gold standard on leadership during this pandemic? Just a yes or no. Does he
well,
still
John,
consider him
the president, well, it doesn't always have to be a yes or no answer, John. I think the president.
Well,
fam, it's not a yes or no answer.
I mean, she is the epitome of somebody that I just cannot stand. I mean, she's a PR person. They call her a press secretary. She's a PR person. She knows exactly what to say without saying anything. And that's exactly what they're taught to do and to say. She's not going to answer your question. She's going to give you a bunch of fluff. She's not going to take a yes or no position because she can't. She's not allowed to. And it's just really, this is what politicians have become. They become these celebrities who take zero accountability for their actions. She should be saying, yeah, the president holds Andrew Cuomo responsible for his malfeasance and his lack of integrity when it came to dealing with the situation. And yes, he should be held accountable. We will let that whole process go. She could have said that, but like she didn't say any of that. And it just goes to show you that these politicians protect each other because they all end up having each other's back and working together. They don't give a shit about you, and they're always going to protect their own.
But fam, I don't know what you're talking about. Cuomo's going to play Robert De Niro, and Fauci's going to play Al Pacino. You know what I'm saying? And everything's going to be okay. That's the shit this guy's saying on stage right now while everything's taken down. You know what I'm saying? It's just these guys are terrible, and Cuomo has a history. Once again, Cuomo takes more money from more billionaires than anybody. In Congress, anybody in politics today, Cuomo takes the most dirty, dark billionaire money. And there's a reason why. You know what I'm saying? Like just now, all his buddies who own these nursing homes and everything right here. He's like, won't worry, we'll give you immunity. People will die. You'll make money. They're old. They're going to die anyways. I mean, what's his answer for this? And all this stuff started happening last April and March and stuff. Well, I just wanted to send a shout out. Thank you, AOC, for raising some money in Texas for those people out there who need it, and that's awesome. But now, Representative AOC calls for a full investigation, fam, of Governor Andrew Cuomo's handling of the COVID-19.
It took her that long?
It's February 2021. When did we say this started, Johnny?
Like March.
Like a year ago.
In her hometown, right near her districts. I'm sure there's some.
But Ted Cruz had a fucking margarita, fam.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. The mainstream media gets all over that shit, and then they protect Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And I don't want to hear it, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't until the public pressure came that she says, oh, now we need a full investigation.
Right.
You had assemblymen in your district, even Democrats like Kim, calling for like, something's going on here. We need to do. She should have been jumping on it right away. Yep. But once again, this is the problem with the Democratic Party. This is why you cannot go into the Democratic Party and change it. They protect their own. And the elites of the Democratic Party, you can't touch them. Remember Cuomo? You said this, fam. They were talking about him possibly being the next replacement for Biden if Biden couldn't go. Then maybe we should get America's governor, Andrew Cuomo. They were talking about positions in the cabinet for Andrew Cuomo. She wouldn't go after him, and that's the whole thing. This is why we elected these people, okay? This is why we are, and whether we want to say just because we're not in her district, that doesn't mean we can't give her money, support her, talk about her online. We were still part of her base because the main thing they were going in there to do was to fight the establishment, whether it be on either side of the aisle. And what do? They only fight the establishment on one side of the aisle, and they let their own legitimately bring people in and cause a mini elderly genocide in New York.
Yeah.
They killed people. They killed people at the order of Andrew Cuomo. And where were you? You were nowhere to be found. Where's Chuck the Schmuck, New York State Senator? Where's he at? Nowhere. Another guy who takes billionaire money all the time. That's the problem with these freaking Democrats and the Democratic Party. It's a party of elites that nobody can touch.
Yep.
I hate Andrew Cuomo. Can't stand him. Anything else, guys, on this one?
Nope.
All right, we got 60 people watching on the Rokfin. Should we go to the next subject, Johnny? The third one, then? Let me read some super rays real quick, then. Trey Wright, of course, I love you all. Keep speaking truth, fam. Bethlehem Tessafe, love you too. LOL. Thank you also for the T-shirts. Love them. Send us a picture, Bethlehem. We love to see, just hold them up or whatever. LOL, Pasta, over the top. Glad you're talking about my corrupt governor, Prince Andy. Things suck in New York.
Prince Andy. That's
Prince
cute.
Andy. Prince Fredo. I mean, I want to say something. We were watching The Godfather, right? Fredo was the older brother. Andrew Cuomo is technically Fredo. I'm your older brother, Mike, and I got stepped over. That's my Fredo. Andrew. Benny Massimo. Nursing homes and hospitals are major contributors, of Andrew Cuomo. We've said this before. We said that, listen, it's not a small business to own a nursing home in New York. Okay? It's a big business. You got to have money. You got to have help. And he says, don't worry, we get you. These people are going to die anyways, fan. They're 80, 90 years old. So what, let's put them in there. Let's kill the other people. Who cares? You'll get the money for it. Jose Tavares, a relative of mine living in a nursing home, passed away due to the COVID. In the home, that's COVID, COOF, right? In a home where almost 200 patients died in northern Manhattan.
Hey,
wow.
Look what I just put up on Open Secrets.
hospital lobby tied to Cuomo wields influence in Washington.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
It's all about the money.
Threatening a lawmaker. You know, he threatened Kim. That's what.
Yeah,
that's
Where was AOC going to Kim's rescue when he was threatened? I'm wondering.
A progressive grassroots assemblyman.
Ron
Mr.
Kim. He's doing his job.
Mr. Kim calling it out. He's literally that's what I want to see.
That's the job.
He's at the nursing home. So the lady's right over here. I'm at the nursing home. I showed up. Let's go. What's going on? Back to Jose Tavares. Listen to this one. A relative of mine living in a nursing home passed away due to the COVID in a home where almost 200 patients died in northern Manhattan. Not only that, he gave immunity to these homes and cut Medicaid funding during a pandemic. Fee mentioned that. We talked about the immunity. He is a criminal and needs to go to jail. She was in the frail health before the pandemic, but was most heartbreaking was that she died alone.
Right, because the doctors aren't allowed to let relatives see. They have a strict protocol. They're not allowed to let them see. They will put a webcam. They will put up a Zoom link, but they can't. They're not allowed to see them. So
my cousins didn't even get that from my Uncle Bobby. That's the thing that killed him, is that my Uncle Bobby died alone. You know what I'm saying? In a hospital bed. There were 3,000 hospital beds built in the Jacob Javits Center, specifically for COVID cases. Fully staffed. 1,000 more beds with the staff of the Navy hospital ship in New York. That's what Cuomo should have done. So there's Benny Massimo giving us answers, giving us solutions. What we said, there's so many things you could do, right? You had the ship came in. Johnny covered that himself. Remember the ship? Yep. One came to L.A. or Long Beach. One came to New York, Manhattan Port. There's the Jacob Javits Center. You got to use your resources, but just to say, hey, you know what? And that's the thing. He didn't want to spend his money there. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to spend the money for that. He had to give this money to his crony friends. So what does he do? He causes death. Karen Sperry, thank you very much for the Super Ray. And thank you so much, everybody, for the Super Rays. You guys have been great. Please do me a favor. If you're on the YouTube, there's a lot of you over there. Get on over to the Rokfin, ROKFIN. Sign up for free. We need the followers. If you have $99 a month, this is the area where you can help us most. And if you want to get involved, it's a time to buy Ray this morning. The price dropped a little bit. It's going to go up. Get on in.
Okay.
There's blood on the streets.
There's blood on the streets.
Sorry, I saw a little quote. Oh, also really quick, I didn't know that apparently, according to Mr. Kim, that Cuomo he got an irate late night call from the governor. And Cuomo began with a question: "Are you an honorable man?"
This is what they mean.
And then proceeded to yell for 10 minutes. Mr. Kim recalled. Isn't that crazy? Threatening to publicly tarnish the assemblyman and urging him to issue a new statement clarifying his remarks. I believe that.
Yeah, no, this is what they do.
Of course he did, because they're mad about it. It's a lack of loyalty. It's like, are you loyal?
Yeah.
Are you loyal?
They're the mafia, but they're just a legal mafia. That's all they are. I'd rather have the mob back. Bring me back the mob. I told you. I don't know how many times I want the mob back.
Fam, stop talking that stuff. You don't know about the mob over there. You don't want the mob back, okay?
I'm just saying.
We want us taking
that
control.
mob is better than the other one.
It definitely is. Because there's an old saying, what's the difference between New York Cuomo and the mob? You can actually reason with the mob.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this whole situation, because we also talked about AOC. It's not that we're trying to take a shot at her, but it is kind of like telling the
she's
fact
an opportunist.
She is an opportunist.
She's a fucking opportunist.
Yes.
I'm sorry. She's an opportunist because she knew that she could get a lot of capital, a lot of fucking attention by providing this aid through Act Blue, by the way. She didn't have to do that. Why didn't she just tell people, hey, here's the list of all these places you can help, directly donate to them? Why'd she have to act like she was the one doing it and put all those photo op moments? Nobody, I'm going to say it like it is. She literally takes advantage of the situation for political gain, and you know it's that because she's not attacking her own fucking governor in her own state until after the backlash she got as to why she didn't do it. So there's no defense of AOC, and I think a lot of the squad, you know, they vary with what they do well, and we call it out. Like if Rashida does something well, we'll say, oh, she did this well, blah, blah, blah. Same with Ilhan, same with any of them. But the fact is that AOC to me seems to be the one that's mostly the one that is the opportunist more than any of them. And I think the progressives haven't pushed. They haven't pushed, fam. Like The squad should have been there to oppose the Democratic establishment. They've only been opposing the Republicans. And that's not what they were there to do. That's not why progressives as a whole elected them. The congressional districts have different necessities, but at the same time, we're talking about running on Medicare for all. We're talking about running on a Green New Deal. None of that. I mean, there's been fracking permits issued. Joe Biden isn't even touching a public option, something as basic as that. They're definitely not touching Medicare for all, going back on the student loans, completely going back on his promise regarding ICE, every single thing. And where is the squad on holding him accountable?
No, fam, you're wrong. You'll get $15 an hour by 2025, so stop arguing.
We're not even going to get that.
Okay, well, listen, I think it's a great segue into this next segment. Everything you said there is so great. But what do you say really quickly before we play this video? Because we are talking about the squad, and we do. Right now, I think my favorite squad member is Rashida Tlaib. Absolutely, when she came up with the civil liberties type of mentality of the bill, when she talked about taxing Wall Street, that stuff coming to fruition. But we do call it like it is because we think generally, overall, they have failed us and they haven't been doing what they were put there to do. What do you say, fam, to people who say, well, you don't know what AOC should do. You don't live in her district. It's not up to you. Do you have any? I mean, I'm very curious because that's the thing. What I got yesterday, I got attacked online. Like, you're speaking for AOC's base. You don't even live in her district. You live on the other side of the country. And I was like, what?
Her own district is complaining about her. By the way, if you go and you listen to some of the people that supported her own district is complaining. But also, AOC became a phenomenon of a candidate because she got so much support, not from New York only, but from the entire United States. In fact, we organized a West Coast AOC breakfast with organizers and activists of the community. And she got to actually make money and fundraise off of all of us. And she fucking refused even then to promote non-democratic candidates. And that was when some of the people were like, that's kind of weird that she's not really like pushing any other progressives, outside the party. I mean, I know she ran as a Democrat, but you should still be pushing like third-party candidates if they're good and blah blah blah. And she didn't do that. And we everybody, not just us, but like in other states, I know that I organized with people for a while when it came to fundraising for AOC. These people were not living in fucking New York. They were living in Wisconsin, Alabama, all over California, Washington State. All of these people put in all this money and all this effort to get her to go into the Democratic Party to take them down, essentially, not just her, but with the squad. And it's the fact that she can use her social media and her following to do this. She doesn't have to play ball with the DC Beltway. She really doesn't have to. And this excuses that people keep making, or, oh my God, Queen AOC, you cannot say anything against her. It's fucking ridiculous at this point. I'm not going to let that shit slide. We're not going to have another Barack Obama. This is completely unacceptable. She has 12.5 million followers. I mean, she just keeps growing her social media. In the beginning, she had like 9 or 10 million. And imagine just starting a protest. Imagine starting a sit-in. Imagine saying, you know what, we're going to go to DC until we get you Medicare for all. We're not going to move. We're going to stop this whole thing. She could fucking do that. That's what people want. That's what people need. And she's not doing it.
Well, two things, fam. I love it when you can answer to all those people coming at me at my Twitter. So what fam should have said right over there.
We're going to clip that up and just post it.
I just clip it up. I'm going to put it on my Twitters. She's like, all right, you want to know why, just because we're out of a district doesn't mean something. And like I said, she did come to LA. We raised her money.
Yeah, both of y'all. Both of y'all helped help with that.
Because we liked her. We really were, we excited because she was all about what's going on and taking the establishment. But fam, I think you're being a little bit too cavalier and you're not realizing the strategy.
Oh, really?
Play the video.
I wasn't ready. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Disappointed. But the squad is ultimately the best that we have in terms of being able to push an agenda. And what that means is that you might not always agree with the methods. I need people to understand that when you are on the inside, it doesn't mean that you are selling out. I know they've gotten a lot of pressure, but they are the ones up there holding it down. They're pushing as hard as they can. And just because things are not going exactly the way, just because they're not using the exact tactics that some in the activist community want them to use, that doesn't mean that you throw them away. Because guess what? If you're throwing away members of the squad, who are our best opportunity to get what we need, and also some members of that progressive caucus, then you're not going to have anybody there. So if the prerequisite, in summation, if the prerequisite for relationship means that I have to do, or the squad has to do everything you say, the way you say do it, then there's not much of a relationship at all. And that, you're going to be disappointed. Hell, they're going to be disappointed with me. I said that to Tim Black when we interviewed. I'm saying it to you, Mike. I want them to know you're going to be disappointed at some point. But that does not mean that you give up totally on the people who are the best fighting chance that you have. And then there's something called strategy. So the grassroots strategy is different than the strategy once you are on the inside. You will know when somebody is sold out. And I assure you that the squad has not, underline, bold, underscore, sold out in any way. They need the grassroots. You can hold them accountable, but you don't throw them away. I mean, some of the pressures, even with Congresswoman Cori Bush, I just want to use her as the example. I mean, she just got there. Hell, overall, the squad members overall just got there, even the ones who've been there a little longer. And then you have people just throwing up their hands, throwing them away just because they're not using the tactics that you want them to use. You don't know what is going on.
All right, fam. Let me just say this right now. Do you want to, Johnny, you got something? If you don't like the mafia, why don't you join it and change it from the inside? I love that one. And I think really, to tell you the truth, with what the ex-congresswoman is saying, soon to be new congresswoman, probably, if they don't rig her election. Yep.
Yeah, she's a senator. She was a senator.
She was an ex-senator?
Yeah.
She was
state senator.
A state senator.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so now
Tina
she's
Turner was a state senator.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, fam, your initial thoughts on this right now, because I got to tell you something right now. This whole thing is this, there's strategy. Why are you calling them out? Number one, I want to say that I don't think necessarily they sold out. You probably have a different take on this than me. Is my thing is they never got to a position when they could sell out. They were still on trial for me. I was still judging them to see what they were going to do. They never did what they said they were intended to do, which was to get us health care and fight like hell till you get it, and to oppose the establishment. They didn't do that. And it really is what I'm saying about the Democratic Party is lost right now. Because even what Tina Turner's talking about right now is like, it's the ideology, fam. They don't have the ideology. We were always questioning the fact that we're going in there, people like Cori Bush, people like AOC, not talking about foreign policy, nothing on their website, nothing of substance. And when AOC has a chance to talk about Venezuela, what does she do? She defers to the caucus leadership, and she still goes ahead and points to everybody who's a warmonger. It's okay. I mean, we're about to have Neera Tanden come into our politics right now. Neera Tanden is about to get a position on. We have gone backwards. The squad has gotten us nothing, and they're nowhere to be found when it comes to fighting for our civil liberties. A little slice from Rashida Tlaib, but when AOC had a chance to go after Mark Zuckerberg for our data, our personal information, our blueprint of what we do and stuff on the internet, selling it to these other companies, she said, "Why are you letting fake news go up there?" So really, to me, it's all about the ideology of the establishment party and the leadership and the young people, the squad coming in there. They're nowhere to be found on the issues that are really, really important. I mean, now you can't even talk about elections. That's thrown out the window right now. So I guess we've completely digressed. So when it comes to those three issues, they're nowhere to be found. And Tina Turner should have never ran as a Democrat. She should have been leaving the Democratic Party by now from everything she's witnessed, but yet now she's here sitting there and defending the squad. No, sorry. You're too cavalier, Mrs. Turner.
I respect Tina Turner. I mean, I really like Tina Turner. I think she used to be one of those people during the Bernie Sanders campaign where she would go out and say the things that needed to be said when even the whole campaign staff wasn't even on board. It seems to me in the last few months that she has been playing the game a little bit, trying to fit in with the squad, trying to join the squad, trying to, be quoting Obama. I mean, we've talked about these things, right? This isn't anything that just started. This is something that happens because these people feel like they need to play the game in order to get anything done. They say, this is how it's always been. This is what you have to do. If you don't play ball, you're not going to get anything done. If you don't suck ass, you're not going to get anything done. And my question is, why the fuck does this have to continue being like this if it hasn't worked? It hasn't worked. Every single time we elect these fucking progressives, they go in there. What do? They basically turn into the rebranded Democratic Party with a prettier face, a more intersectional face, but it's still fucking authoritarian. It's still fucking fascistic. It's still all of these things. It doesn't change. It just changes the face. And that's not what we want. The American people, this is an unprecedented time. We have like economic inequality. We have environmental crisis. We have fucking people in Texas freezing to death. I mean, this is not, you don't do the same thing when you have a situation that requires something much, much more. And when you have a people that are on the brink of like losing everything, and they have, and then you have politicians that are just saying, well, let them eat snow. Well, just let them fucking die. Who cares? I mean, we're still going to get our money. We're still going to continue doing the status quo. When you have politicians like Andrew Cuomo getting away with what he's gotten away with, like, how do you justify in defending the criticisms that are very, very valued and very, very valid against the squad? I mean, that people aren't saying, oh, let's throw them away and let's never talk to them again. People are holding them fucking accountable, and that's okay. They're public servants. I'm not here to be their cheerleader. They're fucking public servants, and they're supposed to produce. What could have happened is, oh my God, the squad gets in there. Yeah, guess what? We're going to force a vote on Medicare for all. You don't want to fucking hear about that? Yeah, I'm going to talk about it again, because the fact is they didn't do that at a moment where they had the opportunity to take the carpet from under the establishment Democrats, and they didn't do it. They instead mocked the whole situation, especially AOC, and completely put it on the people, started gaslighting, saying this is violence. And then they focus on impeachment after impeachment and on the Capitol riots. And then they don't fight for the things they should be fighting for. Where is AOC holding Biden accountable for nominating Neera Tanden? I haven't heard a peep from any of them regarding Neera Tanden. Where are they on the fact that Julian Assange is still being prosecuted? Oh, wait, they don't care. They need to look into that more. Yeah. Where are they on the fact that our government is supporting, of course, multiple coups right now, one in Haiti, one in Ecuador? We're amping up our presence in Syria, in Iran. This is like, they don't talk about those things. Why do I know more about foreign policy than they do? Yeah. And they get paid, what, $175,000 a year? And they get to go to therapy for one fucking day they experience, and you want me to have empathy for them? They don't have empathy for us. And the fact is, you're not supposed to talk about, oh, well, you don't understand strategy. Because that is a neoliberal talking point. That is a centrist neoliberal talking point that we got told as Bernie supporters for the last fucking 5 years. You don't understand strategy. You don't understand how it works from the inside. That's what you were told as a Sanders supporter. That strategy and practicality and you and your purity. You don't understand what's going on. We understand what's happening on the ground. Just because you go inside doesn't mean that the situation fucking changes. Yeah. And that's the problem with these people, is that they act like we're supposed to just support them and put all our faith and all our trust in these people. And when they don't do their job, we're just supposed to say, okay, well, they're trying. They just got in here. Yeah, Cori Bush just got in there. And guess what she fucking did? Push legislation to make it impossible to talk about election fraud. She, instead of bringing legislation to actually say, you know what, we need more transparency in our elections, the first thing she does is heighten this whole, oh my God, the Capitol insurrection and election. These Republicans who pushed the undermining of our democracy, they need to be kicked out. Instead of doing anything else, that's the first thing she does.
Yeah, and she goes on the floor and says we need to get rid of the white supremacist president when she voted for Nancy Pelosi, who's tied into the real estate lobby, which actually puts people in the
And
streets.
Joe Biden.
You know what I'm saying? And Joe Biden. Like, once again, like, just call it like it is and stuff. So, fam, we obviously think the fact that she didn't fight the establishment, a lot of the squad people didn't fight the establishment, that's an issue we have. But what about the ideology right now? Because I'm saying, like, listen, it's a coming of age, like, enlightenment right now. Now we understand that anybody within the Democratic Party, whether they be grassroots, progressives, whatever, their ideology is off. In other words, they're not going to fight for civil liberties. They're not going to do anything with foreign policies, and they've abandoned it. In fact, they've made it so hard that you can't even talk about elections. Shouldn't we face the fact that Nina Turner was never great on those ideologies as well? I mean, she did slip up when she had that slip up. She goes, let me tell you something about Putin. When she was going after Putin, right? So, you know, and we talk about Cori Bush. Cori Bush never talked about foreign policy. Can't we at least acknowledge right now that there's an ideology difference?
I don't even think that's ideology. I think it's foreign policy and knowledge. It's policy knowledge they don't have. Because if you know this information and you willingly do that, that's not an ideology. That's just the fact that either you don't know the policy and you're ignorant on the policy that you should know if you're running for Congress or if you are in Congress, or it is not beneficial to you to talk about those things because then you're not going to be able to be part of this club. But the problem is when you try to be part of this fucking mafia, that you end up getting changed. You don't change it.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps happening over and over and over again. And people wonder, Pasta, why I'm against people running as Democrats. Because all these people are told, you have to play ball, and they end up playing fucking ball. Yeah. And then they get in there and nothing fucking changes. So I am sick and tired of people saying, well, you got to do an inside strategy. No, I'm so fucking done with it. It doesn't work.
They're not going to change the party from the inside, fam?
We're never going to get revolutionary change from the fucking same mechanisms that got us in here in the first place. That's never going to happen. You can't, and even through electoralism alone, you're not going to get revolutionary change, and that's what's needed right now in this country. There needs to be a massive change to the point it is revolutionary, because you're never going to get that. Do you think fucking Malcolm X or Fred Hampton would be like, you know what, we need to work with these people that are trying to kill us. We need to work with them and cooperate with them. No. That's why they're dead. Like, this is not how it works. Okay. You don't change it from the inside. Well, that's not going to happen.
Well, you know, when I was talking the ideology, I think that they still think that you can separate foreign policy from domestic policy. And there's a lot of people who still feel that, like, let's not worry what they're doing over there. Let's take care of our problems at home. And I think that's just a failed mentality, and you can't look at things that way. But my other question was, well, never mind. We're getting close to the other thing like that.
Well, I just wanted to say,
I don't want to dive into this whole kind of other situation and stuff like that. But.
Well, just stop saying things like, oh, like, they're our allies. Why would we, like, go after our own? Whose allies are they? Like, if they're not doing anything for the working class, and it's not just on them, but they are the ones we put our faith in to push back into the establishment. That's why we're mad at them, because I don't expect Nancy Pelosi to do shit for us. Yeah. And I don't expect a Republican to do shit for us. I expect them, who ran on healthcare and ran on all these progressive things, to do shit. And they're not doing it. So yeah, I'm going to be twice as mad at them, because we put our faith and our money into these people, and what are they doing? They're not doing shit.
Yeah.
And they should be called out for it. And there's nothing wrong for doing that. And the people who are doing it are actually showing you, yeah, that's how it's going to be from now on, because people are fucking done taking this shit. They're done.
My question was we still got a couple minutes. Let me ask you this question. What about the part when she says, why are you going after people who give you the best chance to get policies you want within Congress, right? Now, the question is it the Democratic Party? Because a lot of people say, listen, it is the way it is. There are these two parties. We have to go with the Democrats because they are still the best chance. They're closest to our ideology of being compassionate, loving, helping people, rather than the Republicans who are just cold-hearted, all about business, warmongering pieces of shit. I mean, does that still float over here? Because my personal opinion is that that's just a tactic to keep you distracted to think that the Democratic Party is better, but they're all about the same ideology when they're just a pro-corporate establishment party on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, I wouldn't even, like I said, I wouldn't even say it's ideology. I would say it's like they are one entity. It's two sides of the same coin. They only the point of the Democratic Party, the point of the Justice Democrats, the point of DSA, the point of all these organizations that try to reform the Democratic Party, our revolution now. The point of all these organizations is to work within the system.
Yeah.
And when you do that, what do? You drag people to work in a system that is killing them. So to me, at this point, and I was talking to a friend last night, I said, at this point, to me, our biggest enemy it's not the Republicans, it's not even the liberals. Our biggest enemy are our very own people who continue to gaslight and say that working inside the Democratic Party is the way to achieve any sort of substantial change. Those are our biggest enemy, because what that is doing is going to become the new Democratic Party. It's going to become the younger face of the Democratic Party for generations to come. If we don't stop that, if you continue to put all your attention on rebuilding something that cannot be rebuilt or reformed, that you are continuously in the way of creating any sort of revolutionary change. In fact, the people who want to reform the Democratic Party constantly shit on third-party attempts, constantly shit on direct action. They say they talk about it, but they don't really want to do it. They want to push papers. They want to push committees. They want incrementalism. That doesn't work. It's not going to work. We're at a breaking point here. And I don't think these people realize that we're at a breaking point. And that those people are in our way, are in the way of the people who want true revolutionary change. They're in the way. And those people then now are my enemy, because they're not understanding that if all of us put all of our effort here, we're never going to build something there. And that's what the Democratic Party is doing. They're using these new wave of progressives to just rebrand the Democratic Party.
And I think its main weapon is sycophancy, right? Like they make these people like AOC rock stars, and they promote them and whatnot, and you love them. And then therefore, when you're so hooked on AOC, and we love AOC, the purple t-shirt, the whole 9 yards, let's go. It doesn't make a difference what policy position she stands behind or what she fails to do, because now you're so invested in her personally that she can get away with basically allowing Cuomo to commit murder. When she had enough power, 12.5 million people, she could have called a rally. Wear your mask out in front of these nursing homes. The media would have been down there. The lights would have been on there. But how dare you cross the party line? So now you're like, oh, well, AOC's got other things going on. You can't expect her to know everything, even if it's in her own state, her own district. I mean, this is all in a condensed area of New York. If you haven't been to New York, this is all happening in one area. It's right in her face. So, and fam, maybe I'm missing something too as well. We see that TikTok of that person saying, oh, you can't be a Democrat and be progressive and work. And then it's me passing progressive policies. Ladies and gentlemen out there, help us out. What policies have the squad given us, the people who put them there in power? Please tell us. I should make a tweet, because am I missing something? Did something pass in the middle of the night that the squad really brought us, whatnot? Oh, they changed the dialogue. They changed the talking points. No, Bernie Sanders did that years ago, and then he failed to live up to the promises of the things he pushed. So, I mean, the squad's doing the same thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have something out there that said the squad gave us something, I'll make a tweet later. If I have to stand corrected, if we have to stand correct, let us know, because I don't know a piece of freaking policy. Like I said, we're about to confirm near a tandem to control our pocketbook here in the United States. We've gone backwards in the last 4 years, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, we've gone backwards. People that voted for Jill Stein in 2016 voted for Joe Biden in 2020. The progressive movement is fucking destroyed. It's entirely co-opted. The Bernie progressive movement is fucking done. Yeah. It's absolutely entirely it's become an extension of the Democratic Party. Yeah. That's all it is. And now what we have to do, good. And now what we have to, they should be crying, because they should stop letting go. Oh, a year ago, Bernie won Nevada. Yeah. Oh, we could have had Bernie. Why didn't you talk about election integrity? Why were we the only ones talking about election integrity? None of you gave a shit about election integrity. Very, very few of you did. Because
it's so funny, too, as well. And the same people who stood behind that shit, who then got cheated again, are like, oh, my God. It's like, listen, guys, you have to call it out for what it is. And they make this a position when it comes to election integrity that if you go against it, you're a sore loser, you're a baby. So what do if you don't have heart to stick up for what's going on? You capitulate and you say, okay, that's it. I don't want to be looked at as a baby. I want to run again. It's like, oh, we're thinking about our next run before going through the procedures of the last run. And that's like I tip my hats off to Angelica Duenas. She has announced she's running for Congress in 2022, but she was there, Johnny, right? Fighting for election integrity the whole way until there was nothing left to fight for. And that fight's still going to go on, and she won't abandon it. And now she's going to bring more light and attention to that, what's going on. But you have people who just got cheated. And let me tell you something, fam. We didn't even talk about Cuomo in New York. He changed the election laws. It didn't go through the legislation. So that's another state where people are having lawsuits going on where they had dead people voting again. You know what I'm saying? People who moved. And Cuomo, Capo Cuomo, changed the laws illegally, unconstitutionally. Don't want to get off on that. That's why we're talking. Ricky Rants, New York City here. Thank you for the super raid, Ricky Rants. We have 77 people watching on Rokfin. Get on over there and help us out. The Javits and the Intrepid had barely any patience. Medical professionals literally came in from out of town and sat there waiting to help. Appalling. Yeah. In other words, we said, what's the solution? Now people are telling us we live in New York. Oh, no. They had solutions. They didn't use the avenues of solutions. Because they didn't want people to live. People dying, money.
Yep.
That's what it equates to. You die in their bed, they get that extra federal and state money, the kickbacks, and then they're going to give Cuomo his take. That's how the mafia works, fam. From Brooklyn with love. First time on Rokfin. Thank you so much from Brooklyn with love for the Super Ray. I am in New York, and thanks to your coverage and others, I now know about the nursing homes and Cuomo, even while my age friends,
X and boomers,
were singing praises to Cuomo.
Yeah.
Now you know. Dude, when somebody takes more money than any billionaire out there, you know he's bad. Hunter Carranza, thank you for the Super Ray. We do appreciate it. We love it. 80 people on Rokfin. Get on over. We have a great guest coming on. Carrie Mark, what AOC does affects the country, not just her district. Thank you, Carrie Mark, because I'm getting attacked like crazy. Scotty Johnson, that's the thing they're attacking me, Pasta. How the hell do you know? You're not even a district. Shut up.
That's just you
don't even know.
It's a straw man.
Scotty Johnson, thank you for the Super Ray. You're such a grass hole. We have to have a meeting soon, brother. I love you. Hope you're doing well. Eddie Villegas, thank you so much for the Super Ray. And we have 83 people. Let's get to 85. Eric Munn, thank you for this rant. This needs to remain the topic until something happens. Push the squad. Thank you, Mr. Dore. Thank you, Fiorella, for that rant, because I'm going to use that rant to respond back to people. I'm going to quip it up and go, there you go. Ross Iron Coil. I know it's not much, but it's love. And Ross, we appreciate your love. It is more than you believe, than you know to us. We appreciate every single little bit of help we get. You, ladies and gentlemen, make it possible for us to do what we do. Trey Wright, thank you so much for the Super Ray. Fuck Nina Turner. I'm sorry for being vulgar, but this is just insane. How many times do we have to do the same goddamn experiment with progressives running in the Democratic Party before people see that this doesn't work? I'm so tired of people sucking the tits of their favorite politicians. Don't get me in trouble, Trey. This country is horseshit, and we need direct action ASAP. Agree, Trey, right? At Robert Gilbert, my first Rokfin tip, love. Thank you, Robert Gilbert. We celebrate you. We praise you. We salute you. And you're right. Things need to change. Our civil liberties are under attack, fam.
They are.
And we need another avenue. We need another help. We need other platforms that are not going to take our data, sell our data. They're not going to be a vessel for elites to go in and look and see what we're doing. Like we saw with the whole Wall Street Bets thing, they're going to start looking at these chat boards and wandering in what's going on. So today we brought in somebody to talk about some alternatives, and especially Panquake, fam. I thought it was like a new Bisquick for vegans. Like you can get these pancakes and this mixture and stuff, but that's not what it is. So instead we brought in Taylor Hudak, Activism Munich, to talk about it. Taylor, I assume you're not making me pancakes, no?
Nope, unfortunately, I'm not going to be making you pancakes. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on to talk about Panquake.com. I know that many people in your audience right now, of course, have been frustrated with the existing outdated social media platform. So I'm excited to talk about this new one.
Yeah, so Taylor, you've been on here before talking about the Julian Assange extradition hearing, and you've been a huge advocate for press freedoms. Why, as a journalist, are you supporting this new platform, Panquake, and why exactly is it different?
That's a great question. So it's not just myself who supports this project and works on it, but we actually are very, very lucky from the very start. We are being endorsed by several high-profile individuals, including Jimmy Dore, Graham Elwood, Lee Camp, Peter Lavelle, and so many others who are endorsing us. So we're very fortunate. But just to get started here, okay, so what is Panquake? That's what everybody wants to know. So Panquake is another short messaging service and social media platform. However, we are going to be running things quite differently to solve most of the problems people are experiencing on social media right now. So Panquake, as I said, is a new short messaging service, and it was founded, and the initial idea was created by two people, essentially, renowned WikiLeaks activist Susie Dawson, as well as our chief technical officer, Joe Booth. And what Susie did last year was she was asking people on social media, what are some of the things that you are frustrated with about the existing platforms? And everybody was pretty much saying a variety of the same thing, pretty much. So basically, we heard people talking about how they're frustrated with censorship. They don't like the fact that they feel that they don't have any privacy online anymore, as well as their data being stolen. Other people are frustrated with these arbitrary shadow bans and the loss of followers, the loss of retweets and likes. So we are seeking to solve those various issues.
I was going to say, is it like a Twitter or is it like a Facebook? I mean, has it been launched? When does it start? All those things. How do we sign up? Yeah, give us the whole lowdown on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are still in the early stages here, but we have been so fortunate to raise $50,000. We were able to reach our first fundraising block, and now we have extended that fundraising just a little bit more. And the reason for that is that we are doing things completely differently. We are a user-based social media platform. We are not taking money from corporations, big tech, or any big donors. And that way we are not beholden to the special interests of corporations and these big donors. So we are really depending on members of the public to financially support us in order for us to deliver quickly on this product. We have a fantastic group of people who are working on Panquake. We have a fantastic staff, including ex-NSA Technical Director Bill Binney is working with us on the development of Panquake. And then we also have the founder of Yale Privacy Lab, Sean O'Brien, at Yale University, of course, who is working with us to create this product. So the sooner we can help financially support the people who are working really hard to get Panquake set up and get it out there, that really depends on the donations that we receive. So any donation is welcome and greatly appreciated. And you can get signed up for our product if you go to panquake.com. That is PANQUAKE.com. You can donate, get signed up, and you could also follow us on Twitter at pan_quake. But I will get into some of the, reasons as to why we decided to create Panquake. And of course, this goes back to what I was mentioning earlier about the fact that people are very upset with the existing social media platforms that are quite outdated, actually. And one of the things that people are frustrated with, of course, is the fact that they feel that they have no privacy and that they're being
data mined,
used and abused by these platforms. So we're seeking to solve that. Go ahead.
No, I was saying like the data mining is an issue too. Like all of your data is getting taken and it's being sold. And so now that is a very valuable information. And Twitter, for instance, uses that a lot. Facebook is like the king of doing that. And so nobody trusts even messaging each other anymore because all of that could be used against you at some point. What would the interface look like of Panquake? Can you give us like a small little visual of what it may look like?
Well, I do want to touch on this data aspect and how we are not going to be selling your data first. So the reason why we won't be selling your data is number one, because we are morally against doing that, of course. It is not appropriate. Many of us are WikiLeaks activists, privacy activists, so it is something that we want to ensure that we are not doing. And we are designed in a way, again, we are using a user based model, not the client server based model. So that way we are not even collecting any of your data for it to even be sold. So when you sign up for our product at panquake.com, you don't have to provide your cell phone number. You don't have to provide an email address either. You don't have to provide any information about yourself. If you choose to self-identify through another social media platform that you are on, you can do that. But we at Panquake, the staff, does not interfere in that process of verification. There are no blue checks. Yeah. So it's we're not having this cyber caste system. I think that's what Julian Assange called it, actually. We won't be having a caste system on our platform either. So we don't take any of your data, therefore we don't sell it. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we're not taking any corporate money. We are all user funded. And there is a flat fee that you do have to pay to use our product. That is just $5 a month. People who are less fortunate and can't pay the $5 a month, we are providing people with compassionate accounts, and you could also gift accounts. But the thing is, with the existing platforms today, while you don't have to pay to use them, you don't have to, pay $5 or $10 a month each month to use these products. But what's happening is that you essentially are the product when you sign up for Twitter, when you sign up for Facebook, and your data is being sold. And so while you may not be giving them a payment each month, they are taking your data from you. And so that's how they're making money.
Yeah. Well, two questions. Okay. And I just want to say too, like, I think if you set up a system where somebody can donate $5 a month, like to somebody else, very fortunate, that can help the site out to keep those funding going. We saw something like the pizza line to keep people in line for pizza. People would donate so that people would stay in line to vote, somehow using those resources. I think the same thing could work for like a Panquake where, hey, I can help donate money. But my question is, like, who's our target audience if we're not going to have any blue checks or whatnot? And what does Panquake have in their arsenal to make sure that the site looks aesthetically pleasing to bring people over to make the site a success?
Whoops, I was muted. So if you do go to panquake.com, you will see we have some pretty elaborate graphics. And also, too, if you're excited about our product, we've had many people doing this already, which has been so exciting, is that people are adopting our logo and our name as like their background and their profile picture on Twitter and on social media. So if you go to our website, you can see sort of our aesthetic, our look. Our theme is, of course, like kitchen, baking, pancakes. I know pasta, you probably like that because I know you like to cook. So yeah, we have a kitchen theme. It's very cute. And you ask about who is the target audience here, which is a great question, because we, of course, are a platform that is for everybody. We are not catering to the left side of the political spectrum. We are not catering to the right side of the political spectrum. This is for everybody. It's all inclusive. And we are not going to be discriminating against people based off of their
ideology,
public standing with the blue check. So
yeah. So one of the things that has driven people to seek a new platform is the fact that a lot of channels are being taken off YouTube or demonetized. Like, we have been entirely demonetized on YouTube. On top of that, we can't talk about election fraud. We can't question COVID. And so you put up a tweet where it shows a warning. And this is what we've been seeing, not just on Twitter, but also on YouTube. And you said, we all need to ask ourselves why the ruling class via big tech needs to put a notice on videos/content to assure us that they are not Satan-worshiping, cannibalistic pedophiles running a sex trafficking ring trying to control the world. And it says QAnon and Wikipedia. QAnon, or simply Cube, is a disproven, discredited right-wing conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. So they keep putting these things on a lot of a lot of profiles or a lot of people's information, like on some of the like Redfish streams, they'll put, this is Russia affiliated media, to kind of like offset people. Why is that? Why is this so important in terms of what Panquake is doing?
Well, yeah, those notices are extremely disturbing. I did tweet out about it. I remember when I first saw these notices about QAnon being put on content that actually didn't have anything to do with QAnon. I believe they did this to Steve Poikonen of Slow News Day show.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even mention QAnon and it was there. And I looked at that and I remember feeling a certain way when I saw that notice, but I didn't quite know how to explain it. And then it dawned on me, it's just bizarre that we're even having to acknowledge the fact that, or that the elites have to acknowledge that they're not, Satan worshiping and all of this. It was just strange, but we're seeing more and more of this. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to stop there. And you guys obviously were demonetized and so many others. And it's scary because it does seem that this could perhaps be a first step to begin, I guess, sort of a new wave of censorship coming our way. So while it's demonetization now, tomorrow it could be just complete deplatforming on a mass scale. And Jack Dorsey did admit to in a leaked phone call a couple months ago that when Trump's account was removed, he said, this is the beginning. While we are focused on one account right now, we want to get rid of many others. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but that is the gist of what he said in that phone call. So while we do see, Russian state media or, notices on content saying, oh, here is accurate information on COVID, here is accurate information on the election, we're going to see more of that. And it's just a way to discredit independent media and independent voices. So our platform will be a great place for independent media platforms to go to promote their content, because we are not going to be, favoring one side over the other. And again, this is for everybody and it's all inclusive.
Yeah.
Hey Taylor, I got a question. Is it gonna kind of look like Twitter, or is it like what do you guys envision it like looking like? Because I'm not sure. I'm not clear on what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, so of course it will include some of the features or many of the features that you see on Twitter. You could, follow somebody, you can tweet. We're not going to call it tweeting. You can retweet. We're not going to exactly call it that, of course, but it'll be similar. As far as what it looks like, I know we're going to have more information and visuals provided to you guys throughout the next coming months. We do have another events coming up on February 27th, and that is going to be on Vimeo on the Panquake channel. But again, to get a look of like our overall theme, I would go to panquake.com. And also, if you are interested in joining our platform, as I said earlier, you can get signed up right now. And then also when you do sign up and when you do donate, you can get regular notices and updates as to how the product is coming along and possibly when we may launch it. So to get a better perspective on what it looks like, I would head to the website, panquake.com.
All right. I've seen you promote your Bitcoin wallet. Why are you a fan of crypto, and why do you think this could be a win for independent thinkers and the working class?
Well, crypto is honestly something I'm not too much of an expert with, so I'm a little bit hesitant to speak on it, but it's just something that I see a lot of people that I admire who speak well about it, so I thought I would make a Bitcoin wallet, and I think it's the way of the future for certain.
Yeah. Panquake has a whole thing of crypto up there where you can kind of scan, and any type of crypto it can be donated. So that's why I was just very curious. I like to see that kind of stuff. Is Johnny's going to pull it up real quick. You can go there. You can give Bitcoin Cash. You can give Ethereum, Tron, Litecoin, Binance Coin, Cardano, the whole 9 yards. Even Doge, Doge. So I was just curious if there was anybody at Panquake who really made a decision to say, hey, we have to be up in the crypto situation and why
smart.
and stuff. Yeah.
It is for sure. And I will point you guys to Sean O'Brien, who is also working with us. I mentioned him earlier. He is the founder of the Old Privacy Lab. Can speak more about our usage of crypto and Panquake, because it is a very interesting and unique aspect to what we're doing.
Yeah, that's definitely going to get a lot of people who are really into crypto involved. Right now, we're on Rokfin, which uses crypto as well. Just Taylor, real quick before you go, I know since we have you here, you gave us an update on Assange, and now that the Biden administration is in, he has said that they're going to pursue extradition. What can we expect with court and with Julian? I know you had a couple of updates on your Twitter.
Yeah, so the Biden administration did officially appeal a British judge's decision to not extradite Assange. We expected this to happen because on January was not going to be extradited, which was just, I was absolutely shocked upon hearing that. But anyways, right after that verdict came out, or that after the judge made her decision on extradition, the U.S. immediately said that they were going to appeal. So we knew this was going to happen, but we were, of course, pushing for the Biden administration to drop the charges. So what has happened now is, of course, the Biden administration is continuing with this case, and they filed their grounds for appeal, the U.S. did. And then now the defense has until March 29th to respond to the grounds for appeal. And the high court then has the decision to accept the grounds for appeal, and then they will hear the case. They could also choose not to hear the case. And in that situation, then Assange would be freed and the case, I think, would be concluded. But also, if it does go to appeal, the losing party could appeal again to the High Court, or to the Supreme Court, or to the European Court of Human Rights. That process could take several years.
Yes.
So the best thing that could happen right now is that this High Court rejects the grounds for appeal. I believe the U.S. is appealing on the fact that the U.S. prison system is suitable for, is not cruel or engaging in.
Yeah. We laugh about that all the time. The people who invented war say, yeah, we're not going to send them over there. It's too harsh and stuff. Anything else for Taylor, ladies and gentlemen?
Just let us know, Taylor, where we can find you. And once again, give us the update on Panquake and just anything else that people could do to fight censorship and fight, this big tech conglomerate that's coming for us all.
Mm-hmm. So big tech, I want everybody to know who's watching right now, big tech, unfortunately, is interfering in our relationships. It's interfering with our ability to communicate online, which is our fundamental human rights that we all have. So if you are feeling frustrated with the existing outdated platforms that exist today, please go to panquake.com. That is PANQUAKE.com. We hear a lot of these CEOs with these big tech platforms today, like Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey, and they talk about how they're so concerned about how online language could cause real world harm, when in reality, these CEOs are causing real world harm when they unfollow friends from each other on social media, when they remove likes from posts and retweets. They're actually causing real world harm with people and their relationships with others that they care about. So we are creating Panquake with the user in mind, and this is going to benefit all of us. And I encourage everybody, please donate if you can. If you donate to us, the quicker we can get this launched, and the quicker you can take back your ability to communicate online.
Yeah. Well, Jose Tavares on our Rokfin gave us a super ray and said, I think free pancakes would be a great advertising gimmick for Panquake. And I'm all down for that. You know what I'm saying? We can be your pancake mix vegan advertiser. Yeah. We'll go right on the jar there for you, Taylor Hudak. Thank you so much for coming on today. Good luck with Panquake. I think this is an awesome thing that you guys are starting. We have to look seriously into our alternatives moving forward because, as we know, you were talking about the whole thing. We get the election thing right below. Even if we're talking about the power outage in Texas. Elections have been called by the AP. It's like, it's ridiculous. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you, guys.
Free Assange. Free Assange now. Yes. It's scary to think, fam, that could take years of what they can do if they appeal again. And they just want to send a message that if they don't get a hold of him and get him to the United States and get him in a trial over here, that they want to make sure that he dies in prison over there. They want to make sure they let everybody know, every journalist out there, every editor, that you do not cross the American imperialist state, because otherwise they will get you.
Right. So we have a super chat.
We have a Super Ray from
Super
Kristen
Ray?
777. Fam, we call it 777 hockey sticks in poker. So if you're playing poker and you got a pocket sevens, 7 cups on the board, you got hockey sticks. Thank you for the Super Ray, Kristen. Thank you, Jose Tavares. And yeah, I believe so too, fam. We could sell some awesome ass pancakes for Panquake. Get on Panquake. They are data mining free pancakes.
You could get pancake mix. You could sell that.
Yeah.
Like a pancake mix, a vegan one.
For Panquake. I like it.
It has to be vegan.
Truth Seeker says, why do you guys say Assange would be happy with this platform when he would never put anything behind a paywall?
I didn't say that. I mean, I don't know. I think the reason there's a paywall is because they don't have the backing of the corporations.
Yes.
It's not because of anything else. I mean, I think it's like a tough situation to be in when you talk about a paywall because you need money. And also the paywall, somebody else, they have a compassionate option where if you can't pay, you don't have to.
Yes.
So there's that. I mean, I think, like if we're going to like try to own the means of production, then we're going to have to put our money where our mouth is, right?
Yes.
Because it's like she said, it's not free. When you're using Twitter and Facebook, it's free. Like you're not paying like cash, but you're paying with you're the product, your information, everything. They have now a hold on you. This is why they tailor advertising to you. Anything you've been talking about, as we found out, they literally advertise to you because they are listening in on you. It's scary.
Yeah, it's terrible. And like you said, listen, it sucks that we need money for this situation. If we could do whatever we can do for free, we would do it. You know what I'm saying? But we need to come together collectively.
Yeah.
And situations like Panquake, a $5 a month thing is not something unreasonable. I understand where it can get bad and they can keep raising the price. And, that's something that's going to be come into play right now. But once again, when you don't have big money behind you, when you don't have big tech behind you, when you don't have the establishment behind you, you got to come up with a little funds to get things done. My next question to her would have been, and I didn't want to ask her because I don't know if she had the answer for, is what happened to Parler? Will Panquake take the same means of protection to stop those things from happening, to protect themselves from the server issue? You know what I'm saying? Because they showed like, hey, we can shut down your whole ideology. We can shut down your whole platform. We have your servers, you know what I'm saying? So it's scary what big government can do and the deep state can do or whoever's pulling the strings. But yes, I agree that, it sucks that they have to collect that money, that $5. But once again, even family pointed out the compassionate thing where if somebody can't afford it, they can mention that. And like I said, maybe they can have somebody else pay for them. Like double your donation. So my donation is $10 a month. So therefore,
Otherwise,
somebody else,
you're going to have a rich person come in and fund it, and then how much influence do they have? Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it's like you can't something's got to give. You can't have it both ways.
If we're the influencers, the people, it's a whole different thing. And Johnny can tell you right now, it costs a lot of money to run these businesses, a lot of maintenance to do, right, John? I mean, you can't just put this thing on. It's not like, flick a button, it runs itself. No, they're going to need people to go in there and work and stuff like that on behalf of the people. I think it's a great idea. I love it. I love the colors. It's a great idea.
Let's see what happens. Let's see how, the development happens. It's still in its early stages and they're just getting the word out of what it is. We're still trying to visualize what it's going to look like. And we're going to keep following along with these people and maybe talk to the gentleman who knows about the Bitcoin, because that's unique. I haven't seen anybody have anything like that. That I think that could be something that really takes it to the next level. So,
by the way, Patrick S., that's the Super Ray. Thank you so much. We've had a lot of generous Super Rays over here today. And fam, this next section is so funny. We talked about it before we got started on the show. Because
it's funny, but it's not funny. At the
no,
same
it's
time.
funny because it's true.
Right.
It's funny because it's truth. And I think people kind of took this to the next level because Saturday Night Live tells the truth on Israel Palestine, and the liberals just melted. And I think this is going to be a great section because I asked fam, I'm like, did they really tell the truth? And fam's like, oh yeah. And we're going to give you the evidence behind it to show that they were telling the truth. And really, to tell you the truth, when you look at the situation, like they won't even give people in Gaza water. They're going to give them a vaccine. Come on. Like,
all right. So
let's get into this.
Yeah. So let's talk about this because basically what happened is that SNL made a comment and regarding Israel Palestine, and basically a lot of liberals felt it was anti-Semitic. It was not. They came under fire for this joke they made, and it's actually one of the few times where they're telling the truth about something. And let's just play the video because that will show you guys what we're talking about.
Israel is reporting that they vaccinated half of their population, and I'm going to guess it's the Jewish half.
All right, so they went. They told the joke. First of all, I thought it was funny. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really think it was really serious or whatnot. Like it was taking a shot. But I mean, honestly, we understand how the government works over there. And
I had a different take. Like I thought it was funny, but at the same because it was true.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's also pointing out that Americans know what's happening to Palestinians and they're not doing anything about it. And the coping mechanism is always to say this is anti-Semitic. But let's have a history lesson here, because I was talking to my Palestinian friend last night, and she said this issue is not necessarily anti-Semitic in terms of the Jews, because it's not an attack on the Jewish people. It's an attack on what Israel, the government, is doing on Palestinians.
Exactly.
It's pointing that out, and that's what people don't like. But liberals don't want to accept that this apartheid is happening, right? And that this inhumane treatment of Palestinians, and so they use the word anti-Semitic. Well, a long time ago, and not even that long ago, anti-Semitism included Arab people. It actually means people from the region. If you Google anti-Semitic, and you can do it, Johnny, it'll say only discrimination against Jews on Wikipedia. It'll on the top of Google, it'll say that, right? But actually, when you look at history and you talk to Palestinian people, the term, and this is from the opendemocracy.net, the term Semites used to include both Jews and Arabs, as well as Arab Jews and Jewish Arabs. These people shared the same linguistic group and inhabited the same part of the world for a long time, if in intermittent periods, and indeed at various points both inhabited the category. Gribbets describes how the early Zionists returning to Palestine after the decline of the Ottoman Empire and the Arabs saw each other not as strangers competing for territory, but as religious, racial cousins with intertwined histories, culture, beliefs, and even blood. And we've talked about this before when it comes to Israel-Palestine. Initially, they weren't fighting. They were actually occupying the space in peace, and everything was fine. But over the years, the Arabs were no longer seen as Semites, and the crude anti-Semitism of the late 19th century and beyond attached itself singularly and solely to Jews. But what this kind of genealogical analysis of discourses opens up is the bizarre, perhaps delicious proposition of considering anti-Arabism as a form of Jewish, or more specifically, Israeli anti-Semitism. Perhaps this can be seen as an enantiodromia, as Jung via Heraclitus called the process whereby something turns into its opposite. And it's interesting now because my friend who I was talking to, because they're Palestinian, was saying it's almost like they've dehumanized Palestinians to the point where they aren't even allowed to say this, to say that this anti-Semitism should include them. And if they say anything against a Jewish person, they are vilified. It's like, you're anti-Semitic now. You can't even defend yourself, right? And so we were talking about how, there's sometimes Black people will say things like, I don't like white people because they did this and that. But Palestinians, if they can't say that they don't like Jewish people, like they can't say these things because it's like automatically taken out of context and like, oh, you're anti-Semitic. And it's really, to me, what we're seeing is a dehumanization of the Palestinian people. And that can't get lost in this whole thing, because while we're laughing about the whole SNL situation and how it is true, in that comedy is a very, very real thing that's happening to Palestinian people that nobody's really doing anything about. And Fauci is one of these people. Did you have anything to say on that?
Well, I just feel like what you're trying to say right now is that somewhere along the lines it was really politicized. Therefore, that the state of Israel, what's not the Ashkenazis, but the Ashkenazi Jews were pretty much kind of used that as a weapon. They weaponized the whole term anti-Semitic, therefore they can protect what they're doing and get away with it. So therefore, anytime you try to criticize them, they say that's anti-Semitic. So.
Right, and it didn't help because they were talking about how then, of course, you had the Holocaust, right? And so obviously that amped it up to another level. Nobody's denying that was an atrocious time in human history. But what Israel, the government, is doing to Palestinians is not pointing that out. It's a fact. It's not anti-Semitic, right? And Palestinians can't even defend themselves without being told that they're terrorist or anti-Semitic. Now, in this article, under the obligation, not benevolence, Johnny, the very framing of the question, right? Because we're going to talk about what exactly the issue is regarding the vaccines. So providing vaccines isn't something that Israel should be doing to help its neighbors. It's a fundamentally flawed idea. It's whitewashing the reality that 5 million Palestinians live under this military rule. Yep. And, providing vaccinations is not a matter of Israel acting benevolently. It's a matter of Israel fulfilling its obligation under international law. And if you click on that, it's the next one. And the vaccination program, and this is from Electronic Intifada, because they are one of the few publications regarding Israel-Palestine. They've excluded 5 million people from the COVID-19 vaccine program. Now, you can believe whatever you want of the vaccine, but according to international law, they're supposed to provide the vaccine if they're occupying the space. And the UN called on Israel to ensure a swift and equitable access to the vaccine for Palestinians who live under its occupation. So sure, they're offering the vaccine for people who live on the Israeli side, for Palestinians and Arabs on the Israeli side, but they're not doing the same thing for the occupation side. And the international human rights organizations have protested that Israel is failing its obligations by not offering the vaccine to Palestinians of occupied territory. It is a policy, said Amnesty International. It's something that, regardless of where you stand, like that's the law. And Netanyahu, of course, is facing another election at the end of March. And this was when they were talking about that in January.
So this is the part of the joke where it's true.
Right.
Where it's funny because it's true.
Right, exactly. And they don't know, they haven't explained exactly why they've completely avoided doing that, but they have.
Yeah.
And Big Pharma is a huge component of this, believe it or not. Israeli Big Pharma is actually profiting off of this whole situation.
Click on this thing right here.
So basically, Israel has pretty much engulfed the whole entire market when it comes to Big Pharma. I thought I had a.
You do.
Okay, so I just wanted to read this part. The captive economy, the pharmaceutical industry, and the Israeli occupation. Basically, Israel and multinational pharmaceutical industries in this occupation are involved, as the pharmaceutical industry is a globalized arena. Reports reveal of some of the ways in which Israel's occupation of Palestinian land offers opportunities to exploit the captive Palestinian market. Concurrently, the report describes the development of a vibrant but struggling Palestinian industry. For the vast majority of Palestinian population, the situation generates higher prices of basic health products, which is crazy because they're an occupied state right now, an occupied people. So it's not like these people have money, yet they're having to pay more for vaccines and medicine in general and pharmaceuticals compared to Israel, because Israel has taken the market. To date, it is a de facto captive market held by binding economic agreements subject to impediments and restrictions imposed by Israel, often in the name of security and quality control, which that's always what it is. The Palestinian pharmaceutical industry has limited access to trade in various parts of the world, including the Arab world, its immediate market, and suffers from difficulties transferring merchandise from the West Bank to the Gaza Strip. All the while, the Israeli industry enjoys international trade, including within the Palestinian market. Large Israeli pharmaceutical companies have expanded into multinational corporations encompassing a worldwide markets. The Palestinians, on the other hand, have to deal with Israeli customs and health regulations in order to input raw materials and products or export pharmaceuticals. So that's a really, really freaking huge issue. And just along those lines, fam, here is the Irish Unity Twitter in support of Israel, saying Israel, in the middle of the global pandemic, this was on February 20th, has destroyed Irish aid to a Palestinian village home to 60 people, half of them children. This is beyond disgusting, but Ireland will continue to send aid, and we will always stand with Palestine. So this is that right there. You guys can see the picture. And then on the next one, you can also see this is Naomi O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
O'Leary. Naomi O'Leary. She's Irish, definitely. Yes. Israeli forces have destroyed Irish aid donated to Palestinian families in repeat demolitions of a village in the West Bank. So not only are they not providing them the vaccination, which is international, also they're breaking that, they're also destroying any supplies that they get because they don't have money because they live under an apartheid occupation state.
Yeah.
And the mere fact of pointing out that they're not being given vaccinations on SNL gets people, calls to be fired, calls to step down, all of these things that have been happening. I mean, this is what they're doing to these people. They see them as less than human. And if they defend themselves, now they're anti-Semitic. They hate Jewish people, right? And she goes on to talk about how in the last 3 months in the village of Humsa, basically just where families raise sheep and goats. Israeli forces destroyed about 70 structures donated by the EU and member states as humanitarian aid. According to the European Commission, the Israeli army broke up and seized shelters that had just been donated to the EU aid in front of a group of diplomats from donor countries who were visiting the spot. This happened after the EU and Ireland had issued statements condemning demolitions in the village. The visiting diplomats present for this week's seizure of aid were from France, Poland, and 2 from UK. 5 animal shelters founded by the EU, UK, and 9 member states, including Ireland, were seized. And it's just insane. I mean, this is like... And all of this is happening, right? And some of these people are trying to take a stand. But it is so hard to say anything against the state of Israel because it's always just, this is anti-Semitism. You're lying about this. It's just
the
disgusting.
lobbyists they have in Congress too that protects them all the time, whatnot, and stuff like that. But fam, what I'm trying to also grasp, and what you're kind of saying too as well, when we move back a little bit, that it's a watered down argument. It's the wrong argument. Oh, is Israel giving vaccinations to the Palestinians in the West Bank? How about they give them water and stop blockading them and stop? I mean, that's why I think the joke was so funny, because we obviously understand what's going on right now. And if Israel was going to hand out a vaccination, they're going to obviously take care of the people in the state of Israel first, and the people in the West Bank and Gaza. We can see their houses getting turned down and everything right now. It's the wrong argument, in a way. How about we just stop bombing them for a week or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
It's just also highlighting the fact that something as international law, they can't even abide by that. And on top of that, the real issue is what they're doing to Palestinians in general. They don't have access to anything, even anything that's even not even related to the vaccine, medical wise. Like you see, they're getting these supplies destroyed, and that's the only way they get things is because they're not allowed. They have to go through this whole process of getting any sort of things inside the country, and it's never approved. And they have to go through Israel, and like they see them as less than human, fam. They really, really do. And
they want them out of there too.
Mondo Vice, which is news and opinion about Palestine, Israel, in the U.S., had this article where they caught the Israeli health minister likening his obligation to vaccinate Palestinians to Palestinians' responsibility to care for dolphins in the Mediterranean. So he said, this is the exchange. The United Nations says it's your legal obligation to make sure the Palestinian people under occupation have a swift and equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. Why aren't you doing this? Edelstein says, as far as the vaccination is concerned, I think that it's an Israeli obligation first and foremost to its citizens. They pay taxes for that, don't they? But having said that, I do remember that it's our interest, not our legal obligation, that it's our interest to make sure that the Palestinians get the vaccine and they won't have the COVID spreading. I understand that, but the Palestinians have asked you for vaccines and you haven't given them some. And under the Geneva Convention, the 4th Geneva Convention, Israel is required to do so. I can read it back. Article 56 says that Israel must adopt and supply the prophylactic and preventative measure necessary to combat the spread of contagious diseases and epidemics in cooperation with local authorities. Now, that means a vaccine. Why aren't you giving them the vaccine? Edelstein said, I would say that, first of all, we can also look into the so-called Oslo agreements where it says loud and clear that Palestinians have to take care of their own health. But okay. Again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the United Nations says the international law should supersede the Oslo agreement on this. Edelstein, if it is the responsibility of Israeli health minister to take care of the Palestinians, what exactly is the responsibility of the Palestinian health minister to take care of dolphins in the Mediterranean?
Oh.
Can you do a dolphin, Johnny? Okay, so I mean, then it just goes on. He just goes on to really.
They always use excuses saying,
things.
We can't do this. What about that? They're trying to sidestep. They look for like legal obligations
in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Well, what's his responsibility? Take care of the dolphins?
Well, the Palestinians can't even do that because when they try, they get these supplies completely destroyed. So, and then of course, Marianne Williamson got a lot of flack, guys. she got a lot of flack, understandably so, because she said, I watched and cringed. Enough that the Israeli government does is worthy of legitimate criticism. Lying about what they do is just as bad. So she was actually saying that, you know, that agreeing with this person who says it's fun and games until you start promoting anti-Semitic myths. Every Israeli citizen, Jewish, Arab, Muslim, Christian, or any faith is eligible to be vaccinated. 2 out of 3 Israelis, Arab citizens over 60 have already been. Apologize.
But
okay, that's
what?
The Israeli side. That is not the occupied side. These people don't care because they see Israel as its own thing, and they completely dismiss Palestinian people. Do you see how that happens? It's like, oh, these people, they don't exist. Like, no. Israel is giving, look to all these Arabs. That's on the Israeli side, not on the occupied side with the Gaza Strip, where all these people are getting their supplies fucking destroyed. And Marianne Williamson was agreeing with that, saying, oh, this is, we shouldn't criticize, you can criticize Israel, but this is a lie. No, it's not a lie. I'm sorry that you're Jewish and you have, you know, a bias here, but at the end of the day, it's not a fucking lie, Marianne.
No.
Stop fucking, she got so much flack for that. She started blocking people.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
I mean, you have the Israeli health ministers. He's there saying, why do we have to give it to them? What do they have to take care of their own health? What are they going to do? Take care of the dolphins? I mean, you have the health minister sidestepping and giving excuses to why they haven't provided the vaccine. And they haven't to the people in Gaza. Like I said, they haven't provided people in Gaza fresh water. They're not going to provide them the vaccine.
They're not providing them anything.
I mean, it's
and
ridiculous.
What did Bess say? Bess always has some good tweets.
Who?
Bess. You just showed it.
Bess.
What's worse than cringe is that Palestinians are suffering under an apartheid regime, which the U.S. is supporting. And we are.
I totally disagree with you. Most Jews I know, I don't totally disagree with you. I'm sorry. Most Jews I know do not. The issue becomes how to address it and how to change it. So she's saying it's the tactic. She's giving us, it's how do we address it? That's not the way to address it in a joke like that. It's a lie. But it isn't a lie. You have the Israeli health minister saying that there's a reason why they haven't given the vaccine. That the Israeli people pay taxes. They should get it first.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be able to take care of themselves.
On an occupation.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have money.
Yeah.
Do people not understand that these people have no rights? It's an apartheid state. Do you know what an apartheid state is? It's a fucking state where you occupy a population. They are second, third, fourth class citizens, and they don't matter. That's what a fucking apartheid state is. Jesus Christ.
Look what Surf said, Johnny, right above that. Not a single vaccine dose has entered Gaza. And that's another thing. The health administrator said, the health minister said they should take care of themselves. How are you going to take care of yourselves during a blockade?
Yeah.
You have a blockade on your country. You get out of Gaza. You can't even get out there in the ocean. They have boats out there patrolling it. How are you going to take care of yourself during a blockade? And enough with praising people like Marianne Williams and stuff like that. She never had the guff, the leadership to be a representative of the people on that. She was good on certain issues and stuff like that, but she always sucked on issues like this. You know what I'm saying? And she, once again, she was another person saying, vote for Biden. Yeah. Sorry, fam. Done with this stuff. Let's stop putting these people on pedestals that don't have to be put on pedestals. Right now, I'd rather take a regular guy or a regular girl or somebody who doesn't have a ton of education, not elitist or a lot of money, and put them in charge. They might not be as smart as some of these people and have as many degrees as some of these people in Congress, but they'll do a hell of a lot more for you because they're a lot closer to you. You know what I'm saying? These people who run and control the world right now, they're elitist, snotty pieces of shit who don't give a damn, and they're going to cringe about this on Saturday Night Live? Give me a break.
Why aren't we cringing about what they're doing to Palestinians? Like, that doesn't bring you cringe. Just an attack on, Israel. We called them out for something they're fucking doing. Get the hell out of here.
You know, and you have the health minister saying, well, we should give it to Israelis. They pay taxes. These Palestinians don't. These Palestinians, what are they going to do? Take care of the dolphins? I mean, they're admitting it. They're admitting it. That's the health minister there. So what he said, that joke was true.
Yep.
Your bet is right, buddy. They are taking care of people with inside Israel. They ain't taking people in the Gaza Strip. Not one vaccine has entered there, according to some people. And I believe that. Because I know they won't even give these people water. They're going to give them a vaccine? Jesus Christ. Patrick F., is that anything else on this subject, Johnny or Fiorella?
Nope.
All right, so listen, I want you to read this one right here.
Benny Massimo, the word anti-Semitic will lose its value due to the overuse. Why do we never hear of the 20 million Russians who were killed by Nazis in World War II?
Yeah,
we don't ever hear that. And that's the thing. Like, it was, and it's already lost its value because it was supposed to include Semitic people as well, like Arabs too. And it's already been like completely just whitewashed and dwindled out.
Yeah, there's 20 million Russians. I think they said they lost close to 40 million people during that
we
war.
never
It was
talk about
ridiculous.
that.
We never talk about that.
No.
Benny Massimo, he also says, you guys have balls. Because you put the balls big, fam. I had to say it like that. It's refreshing to hear brave people enough to tell the
I have
truth.
ovaries.
People brave enough to tell the truth. Thank you so much, Benny Massimo. We got balls. Anita Thabau. Thabo. Damn, we always got to correct me. It's Thabau. Thabo. Anita Applebaum, thank you for the Super Ray. It's so awesome. We have 89 people watching. We have some super lovely Super Rays. There's 404 of you guys right now on the YouTube. Get on over to the Convo Couch, Rokfin. Help us out. Sign up for free. ROKFIN. We really need you there.
If you guys get tired of him, I get tired of him too.
So we have to tell people. People are just joining in right now. We have more people watching. So listen, get over to that Rokfin, ROKFIN. It really does help us. We had Taylor to talk about Panquake. We talked about our rights, the censorship. Fuck censorship. Get over to Rokfin. Help us out, fam.
So yesterday was the 56 years since Malcolm X was assassinated, right? Yeah. He was assassinated in 1965. That's 56 years ago. And there was a letter in 2011 that came about. It was a confession. And so the NYPD and the FBI have come into under wraps. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. Here are some pictures of Malcolm X and MLK, and there he is, Fidel Castro with Malcolm X.
So now we got Malcolm X and Mandela who went and visited Castro.
Yep, and there he is.
That's Cassius Clay.
Pictures with Cassius Clay.
Who's Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about Malcolm X many times, where he had two sort of times, like before Mecca and after Mecca. Yeah. And so after Mecca is when he started really coming into himself more, right? And there was that whole, you should watch the documentaries, they're up, but there's one even on Netflix that was talking about the assassination of Malcolm X. People won't talk about it. People are very hush-hush about what happened that day. I've seen countless documentaries. I have no doubt in my mind that he was assassinated by the FBI. And deep state.
Yeah. It's funny, when I was growing up, a lot of people would say, oh, he was killed by people within his own organization. Like they would say, like, oh, they turned on him and whatnot. No. It was, other
even
other
people
groups
still
and stuff.
saying that today. I'm like, no, that's not what happened, guys. Like that's what they used to blame them, right? Elijah Muhammad and all those people, they did it, and it's like, no, like more and more evidence has come out that was not the case. It was very easy to blame on one of his own.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people did kind of insinuate that it was Elijah Muhammad and stuff like that. But he did call people a chump. You're a chump.
You're a chump. And that's exactly what he did. So this new evidence, was made public. And it's not a possible conspiracy. This has been verified. The mainstream media likes to say, it's alleged.
Did you want to get this one other picture up, the Be a King first? Or
if you can.
Yeah, let me bring that up real quick.
Well, I don't need it.
Okay, you don't need it?
He needs it.
All right, go ahead. So what is that picture of there?
This is I think it's Bernice King with Malcolm X.
Oh, I think it just. Oh no! Did it again. My computer just died. I didn't have it plugged in.
Okay, well,
let me go get my plug real quick. So you're gonna talk one second. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna pull it up here, Johnny. We're gonna talk about if you can just pull up the New York article. Okay, so there's new evidence in the Malcolm X assassination that points to involvement, not possible, actual involvement between the FBI and the NYPD in his assassination. If you scroll down a little bit and just go, can you a little bit closer so I can? Okay, so this was 56 years after the death of Malcolm X. His lawyers revealed what they call new evidence of a conspiracy perpetuated by the NYPD and the FBI to assassinate him in Harlem. Ray Wood is the guy who had this confession. He was an undercover police officer at the time. He and his family and their attorney now claim that he wrote a letter on his deathbed confessing that the NYPD and the FBI conspired to kill the civil rights activist. He was gunned down, of course, on February 1965 in Harlem during a speaking engagement. He said that the letter he wrote stated his responsibility was to ensure Malcolm X's security detail was arrested days before the assassination. And if you watched any documentaries, you know that day his security detail was not around. He was by himself. And that is true. The letter further states this move would guarantee Malcolm X not having door security, and he didn't, at the Audubon ballroom where he was killed. That was what I thought was weird. How did he not have security that day when there were assassination attempts made before? So his 3 daughters, along with Wood's family and a high profile civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, are asking for the murder investigation to be reopened because now there's new evidence. And they said, so what we're trying to do is talk about restorative justice is, as lawyers, try to pursue the relentless justice. And of course, like we said, the 3 Nation of Islam members were convicted in Malcolm X's murder. Last year, the Manhattan DA began a review of these convictions after meeting with representatives of the Innocence Project. Now, with new evidence, they're going to review this matter, and it's active and ongoing. And so I have the letter, Johnny. I put it in there if you want to show it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he said, I was a Black New York City undercover police officer from April 1964 through May 1971. I participated in actions that in hindsight were deplorable and detrimental to the advances of my own Black people. My action on the behalf of the New York City Police Department bus were done under duress and fear. If you want to continue reading that, it's kind of small.
My actions on behalf of the New York City Police Department, BOSSI, were done under duress and fear that if I did not follow the orders of my handlers, I could face detrimental consequences. Presently, I am aging with failing health. Recently, I have learned of the death of Mr. Thomas Johnson and are deeply concerned that with my death, his family will not be able to exonerate him after being wrongfully convicted in the killing of Malcolm X. The facts are as follows. April 17, 1964, I was hired by the New York City Police Department. Without training, I was immediately assigned to the BOSSI investigation unit. My job was to infiltrate civil rights organizations throughout New York City to find evidence of criminal activity so the FBI could discredit and arrest its leaders. After witnessing repeated brutality at the hands of my coworkers, the police, I tried to resign. Instead, I was threatened with arrest by pinning marijuana and alcohol trafficking charges on me if I did not follow through with the assignments. Under the direction of my handlers, I was told to encourage leaders and members of civil rights groups to commit felonious acts. The Statue of Liberty bombing idea was created by my supervisor/handler. Using surveillance, the agency learned that Bowie and Saeed were key players in Malcolm X's crowd control security detail. It was my assignment to draw the 2 men into a felonious federal crime so that they could be arrested by the FBI and kept away from managing Malcolm X's Audubon ballroom door security on February 21st, 1965. On February 16, 1965, the Statue of Liberty plot was carried out and the men were arrested just days before the assassination of Malcolm. At that time, I was not aware that Malcolm X was a target. On February 21st, 1965, I was ordered to be at the Audubon ballroom where I was identified by witnesses while leaving the scene. Thomas Johnson was later arrested and wrongfully convicted to protect my cover and the secrets of the FBI and NYPD. I have placed my full confession into the care of my cousin, Reginald Wood, Jr. I have requested that this information be held until after I have passed away. It is my hope that this information is received with the understanding that I have carried these secrets with a heavy heart and remorsefully regret my participation in this matter. Raymond A. Wood. And that's his signature.
Yep.
So this is a confession. This is not a...
No, this is a straight up confession.
How did they conflate it in the media, though, Fam USA?
So let's talk about, first of all, I just want to point this part out. Ben Norton, just to remind you guys, a civil court case in 1999 also found that the U.S. police agencies were involved in assassinating MLK Jr., Fred Hampton, and Malcolm X. So now you have all these 3 people who attacked
Three of my favorite people.
They attacked capitalism, yes. They attacked imperialism, and they attacked the national security state. They were a threat because they were uniting the working class of all colors. And now they have strong evidence that now this is all undeniable. In separate court cases, you have this coming right up. And so these things that have been called conspiracy until very recently are no longer conspiracies. We shouldn't be calling that conspiracy. These are like confessions from people. This is now going to be a reopened case. They're trying to reopen this case now, and they absolutely should, because this could be very, very big to finally prove once and for all that Malcolm X was assassinated by an actual, an actual collusion between the FBI, the NYPD, right, and whoever is above them, right?
Yeah.
To murder him. And during this, and there's a reason why these people weren't there. And he's telling you, yeah, I had to make up these charges and arrest them so they wouldn't be there to protect him, because there have been attempts to assassinate Malcolm X before that time.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny too, because when everybody brings that Rainbow Coalition, we talk about, Malcolm X, when he came back from Mecca, how different he was, how more it was like, all right, I'm going to start working across the boards over here. He kind of moved away from the Prophet Elijah Muhammad. He was like, I'll work with anybody right now who's going to stop this imperialistic, disgusting state that's going around all over the world doing these things. Martin Luther King Jr. too, later in his activism, it was more about the imperialist state, what they're doing. And, everybody, I think each one of these leaders had that kind of moment when they just kind of developed and all right, we got you now. We're going to get you. Let's go. Let's come together. Ladies and gentlemen, let's realize that we have the enemy is above us. They're controlling us. They're doing whatever they need to do. Let's go get them. And that's when they eliminate these people. Fred Hampton was such a young age too as well. But man, he was
the last one, wasn't he?
He was the last one, 1971. So I mean, once again, it's just like
they were like, we're not going to let this guy get any
further. No way.
We let the other two get too far. We don't want to let this guy get any further.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And I just want to point out how the mainstream media frames this, right? Because Reuters said Malcolm X's family releases letter alleging the FBI. And Steve, I loved what he said from Slow News. They said the letter was written by an NYPD undercover, order deliver. Okay, yeah, fine.
The letter was written by an NYPD undercover person, ordered delivered to Minister Malcolm's family. It's a confession in the first person, not an allegation by Malcolm X's family. Fuck Reuters for this bullshit framing. I want to hit him across the head with a giant mackerel. But fam, you did say this, and all jokes aside, it is the way they frame it. This is a confession. This isn't an alleged thing. This is a confession of somebody saying, hey, this is what happened. Does that mean it's true? No, but don't frame it as an alleged thing. It was a confession. He was on his deathbed.
The guy was an FBI, ex-FBI officer, though, Pasta. On his deathbed, talking about this. I'm sorry, but if it were any other case, that would carry substantial weight. A confession always carries substantial weight. So, no, it's definitely not something that they can just dismiss as an alleged thing. No more donations has to hold Jacobin accountable. Malcolm X wasn't moving towards revolutionary ideas. He was educating white neo-shitlibs / neo-progs like yourselves, Jacobin Mag.
Sorry.
And he was warning the rest of us that you were our obstacle, the ones pretending to be on our side. Get his name out of your mouths, cowards. He was mad. Well, because the title says Malcolm X was killed on this day in 1965, just as he was moving towards revolutionary ideas that challenged oppression in all its forms. He wasn't moving towards revolutionary ideas. The tendency, the reason people have come after Jacobin multiple times now for Malcolm X is because they have whitewashed a lot of the history, completely focusing on certain things like racial oppression, a little bit of the economics, but not talking about the foreign policy and the threat of the national security state, or talking about the coalition of the of all of the races that was happening of the working class. Because again, when you attack the national security state and it's the CIA and the FBI and all these, three-letter agencies, that's when you are absolutely a threat, and they see you as that. And whether you're a progressive journalist or whatever, most of them don't touch these topics, because then you put a dart on your back saying, okay, these people are actually talking about these things, are actually a threat. That's why most people don't have the cojones to do it, right? That's why they don't, because it's like, wow, you're talking about this shit. Be careful.
Yeah. Well, now it's like you cannot talk to those people. I was just going to say, King James, Malcolm X had the message of cohesion of people regardless of race, and that is dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's when they go after you, and that's when they kill you, because that's the biggest threat. The biggest threat to them is not any other country, the imperialist state. It's its own citizens here. we're the biggest threat. And that's why they're trying to silence us through censorship, demonetize us so we can't do what we got to do, and make sure that we have the finger pointing and the cancel culture, because the cancel culture kind of propagates their whole method of keeping people divided so that they won't go after them and point the finger at their own leadership. So it's very, very dangerous.
And so here are some speeches that he made, right? Because we're kind of like honoring him today. In America, democracy is hypocrisy, is what he said.
But don't scare Negroes today with no badge or no white skin or no white sheet or no white anything else. The police the same way. They put their club upside your head and then turn around and accuse you of attacking them. Every case of police brutality against a Negro follows the same pattern. They attack you, bust you all upside your mouth, and then take you to court and charge you with assault. What kind of democracy is that? What kind of freedom is that? What kind of social or political system is it when a black man has no voice in court, has nothing on his side other than what the white man chooses to give him? My brothers and sisters, we have to put a stop to this, and it will never be stopped until we stop it ourselves. They attack the victim, and then the criminal who attacked the victim accuses the victim of attacking him. This is American justice. This is American democracy. And those of you who are familiar with it know that in America, democracy is hypocrisy. Now, if I'm wrong, put me in jail. But if you can't prove that a democracy is not hypocrisy, then don't put your hands on me.
So this is really prescient right now, because this is what the establishment does with everything.
Yeah.
They gaslight you and say, oh, you're a criminal, you did this bad thing, but they're the ones attacking you. For instance, you can talk about censorship, you can talk about election fraud. Oh, like, if you can't prove, you can accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist, you can accuse me of saying the wrong thing, but you guys go around with propaganda, the mainstream media does, and their institutions, and they go around propagating these actual conspiracy theories, and they say you're the conspiracy theorist. And then they do this all the fucking time, and yet they don't give you an answer. They can't prove to you. That you're not lying. They don't prove it. They just have to discount what you say.
Yeah.
And that's all they have to do.
And I think this is kind of telling them why you got to get your butts out in the street and see what's going on, and why the Convo Couch is so valuable and stuff, because these are the tactics they use to gaslight a lot of people, a lot of white people in America back in the day. Look, this gentleman is arrested for attacking a police officer.
Right.
Meanwhile, it was a police officer attacking him, and we've seen this shit all the time, right? You know, we say this because we were out there. Like, most of the elevation of violence that comes from these protests that we went to has started from what? The cops, the tear gas, the rubber bullets. And that's what they do. And this was a mechanism they used to keep a lot of people divided. So when he talks about these things and then he brings everybody into the fold, you know, he's really building a unity. And they said no way to that. Fam, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but Nicolas Maduro. Sorry.
Nicolas Maduro, of course, you know, the Venezuelan president. He said this in Spanish, but I translated it. He says, I pay homage to the leader of African-American people, Malcolm X. 56 years after his vile assassination, the thoughts and struggles of this revolutionary martyr represent hope for the future of a new humanity, of tolerance, equality, and peace. The time for the people has come. And this is as Nicolas Maduro, you know, they're actually in a lot of trouble because of the sanctions we impose. They're actually suffering, the Venezuelan people, because of the sanctions we impose. And he has built, you know, connected solidarity with revolutionaries like Malcolm X. It's kind of funny when I see liberals talk about him completely just, you know, initially it was like, oh, he's a radical. And now it's like, well, he was an activist, but they never go into the depth of what he was doing, or what Fred Hampton was doing, or even MLK when they talk about his quotes. They always focus on the I have a dream speech, but not on the parts where he was attacking capitalism, or he was attacking the imperialism, or he was saying it's outrun its course. when he was saying we need to bring people together of all colors and come back, and these people are attacking us. When MLK went from being a pacifist to understanding that they were coming after him and saying, no, like, now I have to protect myself. These things they never talk about.
Yeah, and I think this too also pays a lot of, it kind of swings the mind to what we really need to talk about when it comes to our foreign policy being part of our domestic policy and stuff. Because what's happening in Venezuela is a form of white supremacy, right? You know, all these rich white people in Venezuela who want to keep a lot of the indigenous people down, and the sanctions really do that. So when you sit there and say, oh, you know, Joe Biden says he's going to do more for the black community, but when he goes right into play, he still recognizes Juan Guaido as the leader. He still keeps the sanction on there. That's a form of racism right there, and we're not even pointing it out. And you see people like, you know, Malcolm X and whatnot go and sit down with Castro, Mandela, and whatnot and stuff. And you have to start to get the wheels thinking and think about what we have to do, because they were talking out against the imperialist state. So
so that was pretty awesome on Maduro. And Malcolm X said this about liberals. This is something that you know, a lot of them definitely didn't like to hear, but this is what he said on liberals.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling, and you take him for a friend.
I mean,
does that speak volumes to what's going on today now, fam, and stuff like that?
I mean, when you say that the Democratic Party can be reformed, I give you a Malcolm X, I raise you a Malcolm X. No, because the liberal is the fucking problem, because they're pretending to be your friend, and you complain that I only talk about the Democratic Party and these fake progressives and all the shit they're not doing for us, but it's because I don't have to waste my time talking about Republicans. They straight up tell you we don't care about, you know, like we don't care about social safety nets. We're gonna, you know, it's okay, we don't need that. Okay, everybody pick yourself up by your bootstraps. They tell you like what they think their ideology is, and they back it up with whatever it is they want to back it up. Liberals pretend to be for the working people, and they're not. And so now you have to first show that they're not. And a lot of people still believe that they can be reformed, and you cannot do that.
You know, and you know, when we always go on AOC's case and stuff like that, when she says like shit like we're going to defer to the caucus leadership, she's deferring to the foxes. She's allowing the foxes to make those decisions who are going to act like they care for you. You know what I'm saying? And once again, it's a racist policy of what's going on in Venezuela. So we can't just say what's going on here at home. We have to talk about what's going on abroad. And Malcolm X always had a way of kind of pointing those things out. Also, fam, you got right here?
So a lot of people have been criticizing China regarding the Uyghurs. And I reached out to Danny Haifong. We're going to have him on soon. And because there's also something going on in Ethiopia, too. There's so many things going on foreign policy wise, but I wanted to point out what Malcolm X said on Mao Zedong. And he said, and this is controversial for many, I go for Mao Zedong much more than Nehru, because I think that Nehru brought his country up in a beggar's role. And this is, of course, regarding, I believe it's India. The role of India and its reliance upon the West during the years since it's got its supposed independence has it today just as helpless and dependent as it was when it first got its independence. Whereas in China, the Chinese fought for their independence. They became militant right from the outstart. And today even though they aren't loved, they are respected. Though the West doesn't love them, the West respects them. Now the West doesn't respect India, but it loves India. And Warren said, I see your distinction. Malcolm X said, can you see my distinction? Warren said, I do indeed. I admire the stand of China and the stand of Mao Zedong, but I can't admire with respect the stand of Nehru in India. I just can't do it. Because during this time, Mao Zedong, this is what people, you know, when you vilify China, right? China has its issues. Nobody's saying that some of these people, Mao, were perfect and that, you know, we're going to worship these people, right? What I am saying is they were forced to take a stand against American imperialism. He's saying right there that they had to do this and show they're not going to put up with the bullying. Whereas in India, they were finally independent, but they were still under the boot of the British Empire. So he's saying, I admire Mao more because he stood up to the West, right? The imperialism. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about imperialism. He's talking about how these countries, you know, they're vilified and they're not loved, but they're only going to love you if you do their bidding. And so that still continues today when we look at China and how this country talks about China and, oh, China's authoritarian and this and that and the Uyghurs and look what they're doing. We completely missed the part that we had to do in that. And that goes for Cuba. That goes for Russia. That goes for any other of our, not NATO-backed allies. So, and I think that's it in regards to that part. And I think we had Malcolm X on Revolution.
You don't want to talk about Fidel, or
he already showed the pictures.
You did? Okay, got it. Gotcha.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the same.
The Fidel Castro.
There's more pictures with him and Fidel. And he said a year after the Cuban Revolution, Castro and his delegation came to New York to attend the UN General Assembly, but the management of the Manhattan Hotel, the delegation book, now refused to house them after the U.S. government already pressured other hotels to reject Cubans. So that's what happened. Upon learning of their situation, Malcolm X invited them to come uptown to Harlem to stay at the Black-owned Hotel Teresa, where Malcolm X said he would be greeted with open arms. So that's Malcolm X right there talking to an enemy of the U.S. empire, especially at that time. I mean, Castro was, despised. He was absolutely despised. And, you can go back to Kennedy and how he attempted to also do the same things. He said, we had two choices. One was the patio in the United Nations. When I was told to the Secretary General, he was horrified at the thought of a delegation camping in tents there. And then we received the Malcolm X's offer. He had talked to one of our comrades. And I said, that's the place, Hotel Teresa. And there we went, said Castro. So people amazing. From Harlem received the 34-year-old Cuban revolutionary leader by the thousands, with masses huddling around the clock in front of the hotel.
Malcolm X was so smart, too, because he was realizing that the deep state and the elites were duping people into stuff, and they are duping people to this day. Back then, we had thousands of people around them. Good.
Castro was to them that bearded revolutionary who had told the white America to go to hell and to stay there was an important and his stay there was an important acknowledgement of the struggle African Americans shared with the rest of the third world resisting racism, colonialism, and imperialism. Yep. This is Pasta said. I mean, this is where it ties in. You are under the oppression of white supremacy, and it's a Western type of supremacy too. It's this Western imperialism that is affecting Cubans, is directly affecting Americans in this country, especially then Black Americans too. It's a class issue as well, and they all recognized that it was that. And when you have that recognition, that is a danger to the empire. You're making these connections with other countries that are not going to sit back and let the takeover happen, and that's why they killed him.
Yeah. You have this other thing right over here from Redfish with the time when Malcolm X was invited to debate.
Yeah.
At the prestigious Oxford Union, and gave one of his most revolutionary speeches only months before his death.
Yep.
I read once passingly about a man named Shakespeare. I only read about him passingly, but I remember one thing he wrote that kind of moved me. He put it in the mouth of Hamlet, I think it was, who said, "To be or not to be." He was in doubt about something. Whether it was nobler in the mind of man to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, moderation, or to take up arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing, end them. And I go for that. If you take up arms, you'll end it. But if you sit around and wait for the one who's in power to make up his mind that he should end it, you'll be waiting a long time. And in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone, don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.
And that was the speech he gave literally right before he was assassinated. He's saying, I don't care what color you are.
Exactly.
We're all going to join together. They have misused their power. We're going to come together And we need to do, he said extreme. He used the word, which
Extreme
then was
measures.
extreme.
Yeah.
But it was basically pretty much just direct actions fighting against the imperialism. And that's what we need to do now.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do now. That's why I don't have time for this incrementalist bullshit that the squad is pushing. I'm sorry. Because I need somebody like that. We need to be that right now.
Yeah. He said, I don't care what color you are, as long as you want to make a change to these people who have abused their power, it's time for them to go. And we need to come together. He understood that, found the way.
Yep.
You know, in the movie with the Spike Lee movie, they had him saying that at the subway station when he just came back from Mecca and stuff like that, because they wanted to make sure that quote and that speech was inside that movie because it was so powerful, because it is the one speech that led to is like, okay, enough is enough now. Let's go and get this guy and remove him. And it's dangerous what he said. So,
and just the last couple things. There's the pictures with his kids.
Aww.
And then after that, of course, his funeral. And if you're not showing it right now, Johnny, but if you go on the Twitter, the Redfish, you can see the Russia affiliated media sign on the Redfish, like saying like this is Russia, you fucking assassinated this man.
I'm sure
okay?
it's in sponsored by Russia, right? Like there's Russian money there, right?
Yeah, Russian money.
But they're speaking truth. Like you can't deny the truth here, you know?
Well, that's what they did. They demonized Russia, so you can't speak
a great
the truth.
time. They've been doing some great clips and stuff on Instagram and on Twitter, spreading the truth.
But it's like, dude, this is
spreading the truth.
This is what you did. The shit that you can't even share in your own country.
Exactly.
Because they won't do it. They won't fucking talk about it.
Like how? Why isn't an American company, like, you know what I'm saying, like sharing all this stuff? It has to come from someone like Russia that then knows all the history and has access to the clips and
right.
all that.
And our own Congress people don't even know the breadth of imperialism right now. They don't talk about Malcolm X unless it's to talk about, raise their political points of wokeness on a very superficial level, but they don't actually do anything about it. And one of the last things I just want to end up with is this is something very prescient to us right now at this very moment. And as you can see the open casket as he was laid to rest, this is a moment where we are seeing how they're turning the tables against us. Like he said about the Fox, like he said about, American democracy is hypocrisy. If you're not careful, he said, and this is one of my favorite quotes of him, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. And of course, in this modern age, it's not newspapers, physical newspapers. It's websites, it's social media, it is mainstream media through their propaganda. It is the takeover of Google, of big tech. All of these people are turning truth sayers into conspiracy theorists, into villains.
Yeah.
Like we were made villains, right?
We're villains. That's it.
But these are the people that should be elevated. The people that are the oppressors are the ones they want you to worship. The people doing the oppression, those people. Remember that quote because it's so prescient right now, more than ever. I mean, seriously, gone too soon. It's sad.
It's funny because I look at that and I'd say, God, Denzel Washington looks so much like him. I thought it was one of the best depictions. Sometimes I think it's Denzel Washington when it's up there speaking.
I know.
That's what a great job he did. But, Denzel Washington also said, to a bunch of reporters out in front of him, we say it all the time, yeah, I know what you're saying. So if you don't read the papers, you're uninformed. If you do read the papers, you're misinformed. And I think he was channeling his inner Malcolm X of sorts and stuff like that because it's somewhat similar. There's a parallel to it and stuff like that. But, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. And it really is. They still have that situation. I have a lot of arguments with people on the right who still complain about what, immigrants get when they come here and stuff like that. And they actually get you to hate those people. And they've used this. The media has done this in so many ways to twist the narrative to get you hating the people who you shouldn't be hating. You should be hating the people who are hiding behind those outlets and stuff, those outlets that are put up. Johnny, what do you got over there? You just need to give a shout out.
Just need to give a shout out to the realest of the real. Pasta, Fiorella I am, and Jonathan Mayorka for the awesome Convo Couch merch. Y'all
are the best and such an inspiration. Thank you for all you do. Keep calling out the corruption and pushing for a better future. Love y'all. Mona,
Mona
Carmona.
with her fam shirt.
Look
and
at the
she said
fam
she's gonna make Sleepy J wear it too.
Yeah.
Because he loves the word fam. Don't
Look at
you,
that
Sleepy
fam.
J?
We have a lot of fans.
Shout out to
there.
the fams. I mean, thank you for the support. I mean, they're amazing. They really are. They're phenomenal. Mona is out there supporting independent media like crazy. I always see her on the Hard Lens, on Richie,
graphics.
like all these things she does for everybody. She's really awesome. Awesome person.
Super Ray from Mitchell Sparks. Thank you so much, Super Ray from Mitchell Sparks. We appreciate you coming over to the Rokfin and helping us out on this network. This is the network where we can speak our mind. Scotty the Grasshole Johnson. How you doing, Scotty? I love you. I wonder if Castro's military attire, as seen in that picture with Malcom, was Castro's subtle way of letting you know that the revolution is never over. It continues.
It must endure.
Wow, the revolution is never over. It must continue. Cultist Demon, did y'all get my email? Give me that shirt. Cultist Demon, we're going to do some mail outs. You're going to get a shirt. Don't worry, I got your email. We got your information, and thank you for all of you people who left us these super rays today. 95 people watching on Rokfin. That is awesome. We like to get to 100 each time right now. It's important, ladies and gentlemen. They've only simply demonetized us. How long until they 86 the whole channel?
Yeah.
Right? So get over here now while you can. Oh yeah, look, and Jason Burmas can't put anything up for a week. He got a strike, and what did they do? They just dug back into his old archives to pick something out, and that's what they did to us last time. They can dig into our archives right away and get us for anything. And talking about their little overlords and people like Cuomo make me nervous. Think that they can give us a strike right away, because once you expose the establishment, you become the target. That's what pretty much people got laser beam focus from Malcolm X post Mecca about who the oppressor is. It was just like when Fred Hampton talks about it. You know what I'm saying? You have to know who the oppressor is, and I don't care what color you are, where you come from. If you want to join together and stop these oppressors, to stop these imperialists, then we can work together. That doesn't mean we ignore the issues that are there, fam. But I'm kind of like Andrew Zygmunt Smith. Let's get rid of these people first, then we can work out our problems after, because they really are the threat that keeps us divided while they are in control, and they have the boot on the necks of all poor people in this whole world, the globalist, that is. No?
Yep, fam.
All right, so thank you so much right there. Johnny, anything else? All right, so it was a long show today. Once again, you got 420 of you on the YouTube. Please get over to the Rokfin, Rokfin. We want to thank our Patreons. We have a lot of you guys. You're awesome. We want to thank those PayPal donations. If you made a donation to PayPal, it is loved. It is appreciated. We do definitely thank you for those PayPals. And just an announcement, too, as well. On March 17th and March 18th, the Convo Couch will be taken to D.C. Right?
Yes.
And we can do this? We can say this? All right. So we've talked about everything today. We had Panquake person on today, Taylor Hudak, to talk about why we're doing this and why we're starting these things. Because we say plain and simple, out loud, fuck censorship. Fuck you two for putting the censorship on us. So we are throwing a rally in D.C. on the 17th and 18th. We'll be following the Assange rallies over there. We're going to occupy Google at one point, right, Johnny? So come there and join us if you can, March 17th and 18th.
We're going to have more information.
We're going to release all the
for
details, absolutely, on this information. So we'll give you exact details of what's going on, when it's going on, and how it's going on. But mark the dates now. St. Patty's Day.
St. Patty's Day. I will buy you a green beer if you show up.
99. One more person get over to Rokfin. Help us out. One more person before we get out of here. March 17th. And, we went down to... Buy Bitcoin. Buy Ray. But March 17th, March 18th, get on over there. Help us out. Thank you to all our donors. Thanks for all those people who signed up on Rokfin and our Patreons. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on those ones and twos.
Convo out.
You did it,
R.I.P. Malcolm
Good job.
X.
We love you.
Damn.
All right. Sorry.